fuck us up over.
See, I think it's a dangerous place not to be able to criticize cultures.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
And the thing is, people are so hesitant to criticize cultures because they don't want to be called a racist, even though culture and race are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Harris had a great example. He said, if there was a culture that plucked out the eyeball of every third child born,
every third one shall walk in darkness.
Yeah. Would we not say that that culture, at least in that sense, is inferior or is
morally
bad? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we not make that judgment?
Well, the PC answer to that, and the one that Sam Harris got from the woman who's on the medical ethics board of the president, I guess, was, well, why did they do it? And then he says, well, they have a holy book and there's a scripture in it that says every third one shall walk in darkness. And her response is, oh, well, then we have no right to judge them for that. Like, and that's the danger. That's the danger to me.
So is that, since I'm not familiar with the Quran, is that in the Quran?
No. It's a hypothetical.
Oh, it's a hypothetical. Holy book.
Yeah. It's a total hypothetical. Like, let's say tomorrow we discover a previously undiscovered civilization, and every third kid, they tear their eyes out. And they do this because they have a book that they believe was written by the divine, all-knowing creator of the universe. And in there is a verse which says, and every third one shall walk in darkness. Their interpretation of that is pluck the eyes out of every third born child. Can we call that morally reprehensible? In my mind, it's a no-brainer. Yes. It is morally reprehensible.
Do you guys think there's any weight to that Republican argument that Obama and Clinton and a few other Democrats refuse to say radical Islam as if that's a thing?
Yes.
So do you think they have something to stand on? That the fact that some Democrats or some people refuse to say radical Islam, I think it's a big deal, or
I think that it's turned into a big deal from both sides, right? Like, so the problem isn't that they won't utter the words radical Islamic terror. The problem is that it's a meta issue where they're refusing to identify the actual problem. Like, they're refusing to acknowledge a part of the issue. Because the president gave a speech right after Donald Trump lambasted him after Orlando. And he said radical Islamic terrorism, but I don't think he ever said the whole phrase altogether in a speech, like 4 or 5 different times. And he's like, fine, I said it. But all that's happened is now it's turned into this like stupid, like push and pull thing about like saying words when it would turn into a semantic argument. And this is a very practical issue that we need to address. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that there's a problem that the left refuses to acknowledge that there are some inherent problems in the doctrines of Islam.
It's nuts, man. On the one hand, Republicans, right after the Orlando shooting, that's all I heard on Fox News was the radical Islam. They refuse to say radical Islam. You won't hear the words uttered. You won't hear them. And likewise, the Democrats, all they focus on, the Republicans won't talk about guns. They don't want to even address guns. Guns are not the issue. And they're both just so tone deaf. It's insane.
I think it's funny. What's funny to me about this Orlando thing, or sad, I should say, about this Orlando thing is how every single group with a political agenda immediately tried to take Orlando. Immediately tried to lay claim to Orlando, like it's a gun issue, it's a gay issue, it's a this issue, it's a that issue. All right, so what it is it's an American citizen who is a closeted homosexual who is trying to reconcile this with his faith, which happens to be Islam, who is probably psychologically, like, it's everybody's fucking issue. Orlando is a microcosm of every fucking issue in America right now.
Yeah, mental health issues, homophobia, You name it, yeah. It's a guy more than likely is closeted. He was known to frequent
and it's
that
not
club.
homophobia. It's not homophobia. He was gay.
Well,
it was-
homophobia, meaning his
An
culture.
irrational fear of homosexuals.
Yeah, he comes from a homophobic culture, so he more than likely he hit on somebody. Or
Self-hating
somebody hit
is
on,
right.
yeah, self-hating. He probably hit on somebody, or somebody hit on him, and he probably was rejected more than likely for being an asshole and a psychopath. And he probably was.
Well, he
Yeah.
obviously tried to cure his homosexuality, right? Because he got married and had a baby.
But that's the cultural part. I mean, that's
Right. That's what I mean. So, like, this is
that's his family and stuff, you know.
This is like
his upbringing.
somebody who wasn't American enough. That's what the problem is. The problem isn't the problem isn't America. The problem is that he it's an assimilation problem.
Mm-hmm.
You've got two parents that came here from theocratic nation. And so he's a first generation American. This is an assimilation issue. What happened to Yuri, man?
He's coming back. He just froze up, I think. See, Ash is in the chat right now, and he says, I asked him if it's impossible to be gay and Muslim. And he said, yeah, it's an oxymoron.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. I'm neither gay nor a Muslim, so I don't know.
So I'm assuming, Ash, your point of view is that Allah doesn't create gays, so therefore there's no such thing as someone born gay.
Oh, that's just an archaic. This is what. All right, so this is like what Chet was saying. All right, this is a conversation that I'm no longer willing to entertain. The science is in a certain percentage of higher mammals are fucking homosexuals. It's not just humans. It's all higher mammals.
What is it, like 5 to 10% of all rams?
Yeah.
Only exhibit homosexual behavior.
And you want to know what they do? What rams do in their homosexual relationships, which is, I don't know if other ones do, but I happen to know rams do. They mate for life.
I'll say something to Ash that.
So how's that? Like, that's not just fucking. You know what I mean? Like Steve and fucking Frank, the Rams, dude. They're like not messing around with Joe or fucking Bill. They're like Steve and Frank together.
Also, let me say something to Ash real quick, because he said, I am saying you can't be gay and claim to be Muslim. I'll tell you this, you don't get to say who's Muslim and who's not. If somebody wants to call themselves Muslim, they're Muslim. You have no right to say what another person is or isn't. So yes, there more than likely are gay people who are Muslims. They probably don't live in your country. They probably live in a secular society where that's allowed. But they do exist. You can bury your hand in the sand and pretend that they don't exist, but they do exist. And more likely they're in your country. And more likely you actually know someone who's gay. I'm sure there's someone in your family who's slightly effeminate.
You're following you've been on Blab for one day. You're following 125 people already. Wow. You've been busy, John. That's your real name. Okay.
Some people move into a country who share your sentiments. You can't be Muslim and gay. And they had children. And let's say they have a son who growing up hears this from his father. You can't be Muslim and gay. And the son also hears things like it's an abomination. It's terrible. It's against Allah's law. It's unnatural. Raised in this way. And let's say this family immigrates onto a street in a new country where their neighbor is gay. Put yourself in the shoes of that gay neighbor. How they may feel. How they might be fearful.
So Ash, if you say they can be anything but Muslims because Islam is clear about homosexuality, and of course you are the authority on Islam, apparently.
Well, hold
on, Chris.
Yeah, sorry.
But Ash, if they do believe in God, and you only believe Allah is the only version of God that there is, if they still believe in God, what are they then? What's their religion at that moment? If they want to choose a religion, they're homosexuals, but they still believe in God. And to you, Allah is the only God. So what are they? Go ahead, Percy. Go ahead.
All right. So C.S. Lewis makes this point about Christianity, and I feel like it applies. And it's this. Once someone becomes a Christian, they're a Christian, regardless of how they behave. If they behave poorly, that makes them a bad Christian, like as in not a good one, like not living up to the ideal. But it doesn't mean they're not a Christian. So I reckon that the same thing kind of applies to Islam, right? Like if you're breaking the rules or whatever, that doesn't mean you're not a Muslim necessarily. It just means that you're not a good Muslim,
I think
for lack of a better term.
I think he's under the camp that it's an exclusive membership. So in order to be a Muslim, you have to be a good practicing Muslim. So if you're not, you're out. Heads off. Literally.
Well, so this is where tossing homosexuals from tall buildings comes from, then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Conversations.
So
that's what's fucked up about
the logic doesn't make sense. So let's just kill those people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's meant to be a place for blabbers. So,
Ash, doesn't only Allah know who the true Muslims are?
Tony is killing it in the chat right now.
Yeah, of course. Ash doesn't have a beard. So
Tony is the rational voice of awesome.
He wants to
Chris is closer to being a true Muslim than Ash
if you want a
is.
more private group, we can make a more private group. But the original
Of course.
idea was just there'd be somewhere other than
Ash, I'll grant you that you're a better Muslim
go
than I am.
and talk about.
That's definitely true.
Talk to each other.
All right, Tony can come on in a minute.
What's happening on Blab? If there are any blabs going, anything.
No, it's Chet's not here. You can eat on cam.
Yeah, just take a deep breath
we
before
used
you
to
come
have
on,
that
Tony.
really long Twitter
Count to
thread
10.
As long as
back in the
Chet's
day.
not here.
That was pretty cool for a while, but then it eventually
No, it's
just
beef
died.
jerky. All right, fair enough.
That was cool.
Homosexual
Wait a minute. That means you're not a very
It
good
was like over 100 people.
Yeah,
in
Ash, I
there,
don't even know
all of
where to
them were
begin,
talking.
man. I actually feel
However,
actually feel for you,
and
Ash.
announce anything or say anything.
Well, I
just
noticed
go into
the way
the
he
chat
worded
here.
that was very precise. Homosexual acts.
Whereas here,
he
like,
didn't
you
just
don't
say
want to let
homosexuals
people know about
or
stuff. You
homosexuality.
individually message
So,
everyone.
Ash, do you say that it's possible to be a
group chat, you just
homosexual and
send
never
in-
commit a homosexual act?
Especially if you never lust
Anyway,
in your
call in and out
brain,
of the
in your
chat or
head.
something. Yeah, I know.
But maybe you just find men aesthetically more pleasing to your eye than, say, women.
Is it possible, Ash, to be a homosexual and never commit a homosexual act?
Or how about this? Is it possible to not be a homosexual, but commit a homosexual act?
He says that is possible, but how many gays don't perform? So let's imagine that there's a Muslim man who is homosexual, but never, ever acts upon it.
And is married.
Is he a sinner in your eyes or no? Or in Allah's eyes? Yeah, and as Caddy said, let's say he's even married to a woman.
Yeah, he's following the book. He's repressing his homosexuality. He'll never show it. He'll never act on it. But he knows he prefers men over women. But he's following the book, and he married someone, had kids the whole night.
Yeah, see, this is Ash. This is how Christians get around it. The fundamental Christians.
they just say, well, you can be born gay, but as long as you don't act on it, then you're fine in God's eyes.
What if you're not gay, but you suck some dicks once in a while?
That just makes you a cocksucker.
Like, seriously. Like, I'm being serious. Like, what if you're
Well,
not a homo? Like, what if you're not romantically interested in, like, dudes, all right? But you like to get a little fucking dude action every once in a while. That's not being a homosexual, but it is committing a homosexual act.
Yeah, and according to Allah and Yahweh's eyes, you're.
So that's the sin.
That's the sin, though. That's my point. Like, that's worse. Like, giving or receiving a blowjob from another dude is worse than pining away for men and never acting out on it.
Do you think there's a difference in Christianity? If Christianity had to choose between someone being gay but never acting on it versus someone being straight but one time committing a homosexual act, which one do you think your average Christian would say is worse?
Ooh. Well, they would say the second one because they would deny the first one even exists. A lot of them would. They would say, "Oh, you just were brought up wrong" or something.
No, God, it's still a choice, right?
Yeah, God doesn't create fags, is what they would say.
So even if the homosexual chooses to be homosexual in their eyes, but never acts on it.
If God doesn't create fags, how does he hate them? Like, seriously, if God doesn't create fags, how does he hate them?
Well, because it's their own choice to be fags. So, can you?
But how did they come into existence?
I'm trying to let her in.
Then how did they come into existence?
Because of the free will.
That's right. If you can.
Let's make Tony a co-host, and then she'll be able to come in. I don't even see her avatar anymore. Do you guys?
What happened? Oh, it might have been her connection.
Yeah.
You're here, Tony? We don't see you. Let me see your. I'm gonna try this.
I got it. She's a host. I gave it to her.
Okay, so you can come in yourself now, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
How's my connection?
Good.
Fair.
Okay. I'm in my car.
I can see that.
Not driving.
It looks like you're parked in the middle of the street diagonally, like the car's gonna come and hit you.
Yeah.
Full on roadblock.
Yeah, you're just blocking the highway.
We're on vacation, and I had to. I don't have service where we are, so I had to drive to the nearest town to get service to look for a house because we have to move, and we only have like a certain amount of time. So.
Is your husband next to you right now, Tony?
No, he's not. No, he didn't come with. It's just me and the kids and my mom.
Do you have permission to speak with us
County
on Blab
Park
here
looks
today?
cool as fuck.
From your
Oh
husband?
shit, look at this. Kapost Country Park. West Hampton Dunes.
So,
Holy fuck, this shit
Tony,
looks cool
did he
as
give you
shit.
permission to drive?
Damn, look at this
I don't
West
need
Hampton
permission
Dunes
to
shit.
drive
This beach goes
either.
on
Wait, what?
forever.
Yeah, the
Whoa, you're not
Hamptons
a
beaches are pretty nice. I had like some dude try to tell me like Long Island has shitty beaches. I was like, yo.
So which country is Ash in? I forget.
Saudi Arabia.
Okay, because I know he lived in Germany, he said. So, Tony, you could not be in Saudi Arabia right now, correct?
No, I'm
Yes,
not.
lady.
Well, they can drive now, I guess.
I wonder if...
I don't know. I don't pay attention.
Is that
No, I
still
don't,
here?
I don't think so.
Politics.
They still, women cannot drive in Saudi Arabia yet.
Oh.
Ash, is what you see Tony doing, she's in a driver's seat of a car. Is that something that you see as a problem in Saudi Arabia? If
The thing that I don't understand about that rule, I mean, I don't understand that rule in general, but the thing that really bothers me is that, so they all have drivers, right? The women. So their driver takes them to the mall or wherever, but their driver is a man. So they're in a closed off space by themselves with a man who is not their husband. So I just like don't get the connect. Like it doesn't. I can't.
I'm sure there's a apologetic loophole there somewhere where
So
that's
Tony,
okay.
do you view Ash as a fundamentalist because he says that you can't be a true Muslim and gay?
Probably, yeah.
And do you?
And even like my husband and I have had really big arguments about this issue, and now we sort of have a don't ask, don't tell policy in our own house.
So who's on what side between you and your husband?
Oh, well, he's basically the same as Ash. Like, thinks that, they choose this and that it's
Facebook posts
sin
or
and all that
how many Instagram photos, whether we're going to depending on how much we get paid,
having
whether
grown
we
up
do a
in such a
video,
different
whether how many blog
Like, he
posts, where they would sit, whether
never
it's
even
an article for a
met an
magazine,
openly
it's
gay
an article
person
for the brand's website, it's
until,
going
like,
on our website. And then afterwards,
Where are you
like
guys
Rick
at?
said,
Minnesota.
it could go on for years. If we
So he's
have
from Tunisia, and
a
he
great
grew up,
trip
like,
and we
on a
enjoy
farm
it,
in the
and
country.
we will talk about it forever.
Like,
We're still
through all
talking
his
about trips that we
donkeys,
did when we
like,
first started that we loved.
Slightly
So
different,
it
life.
just
And
kind
so
of,
I try to see
and
it
that's
that way, that it's still not good that somebody would hate someone they never even met for this reason, but I try to see it as an exposure issue, that he just hasn't had the exposure, and that's how I'm able to not, like, I'm able to disassociate myself from his view. If it would become a bigger issue if one of my kids was gay or something, then obviously we'd need more discussion, and like, if he wanted to drop our child because of that, he would have to drop me too. Like, that's just not okay with me. So,
But this is why I preach the gospel of doubt, because if you think your holy book is 100% the word of an all-powerful creator, and if this all-powerful creator has said that homosexuality is an abomination, it gives you an authority, even if you're not that type of person who may do harm to a homosexual. It gives you that mindset, that kind of inkling, and you think poorly of another human being because of it. And for some, that means actually beating or killing a person, even though you're not acting on behalf of a state or anything else within a Muslim country.
right, exactly. Yeah, I agree. And I don't know the answer. Like, I'm in a Facebook group that's like, I think it's called like Progressive Muslims or something. But there's like gay Muslims and like a couple trans.
Wait, what did you say? There's what?
They talk about like the issues that they've had in their communities.
Did you say? I don't know if Ash caught that. There are progressive Muslims out there.
Oh yeah,
And
there are.
Yeah,
And there are even gay Muslims. Did I hear you right?
yeah, and trans.
Even though that's against Islam,
So,
against the book.
yeah, I guess so.
So how do you think those Muslims consolidated in their minds? Their holy book says homosexuality is wrong, but yet they're homosexual. How do you think those Muslims consolidate the two? Do they say
I
context?
guess they probably just believe in like the core tenets and sort of ignore those other. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just curious if they do it the same way the Christians do. Say, well, that was for back then, that time, that context.
I
the
would
world has
imagine
changed.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys seen the Muslim Reform movement?
There's a Muslim Reformed Army.
Reform movement. Don't make me get the meme out. I will. If you bring him up again, I will bring the meme out.
Speaking of which, I was on Periscope, and Michael Foster, the day after the Orlando shooting, he put out a blab that said "gay on gay crime," let's stop gay on gay crime, and he was being sarcastic. And I'm like, I like the dude. I immediately unfollowed him. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this guy.
Oh, wow.
That just put me off completely. Sorry, go ahead. So you're saying Muslim Reform?
The Muslim Reform Movement is this organization that's like started by a bunch of like progressive Muslims. One of them is Asra Nomani. She's like an awesome lady. She's like well worth reading. But they've got this whole like thing that they've worked up, this whole like document that talks about all the bits that they care to leave behind and all the bits that they care to embrace. And it's this beautiful document that's like, listen, we're done with jihad. We're done with the caliphate. We're done with tossing gay people off of buildings. We're done with all the bullshit. And we're going to embrace this. It's cherry picking is what it is. But it's like of the most noble sort. I highly recommend checking into them. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter.
Yeah, I'll look them up.
They're awesome. I love Asra Nomani. She's so level-headed. She was on, do you guys do Gad Sad's podcast at all? Anybody?
Yeah, I watch once in a while.
She was on his podcast like, I don't know, 6 months ago, and it was awesome.
See, Ash, I want to assure you that Christopher, Caddy, Tony, and myself, we are all good people. We would never hurt a fly. We are moral people. We are compassionate people. We're empathetic people. And I'm sure you don't think Tony is a real Muslim. And the rest of us three are agnostic atheists, but we're good people. And we're here to tell you that you don't need your religion to be a good person. You really don't. You, Ash, would be a great person whether or not you were Muslim.
Or you'd be a bad person whether or not you're Muslim, depending on whether or not you're a good or a bad person.
Yes, that's true. Religion in itself doesn't have to be this thing that makes you a good person.
I think some people think religion is what's keeping them from being a bad person.
I think Ash is one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
I think those people are probably bad.
Yeah.
Like, Ash, if you truly believe that you would be a worse person if you left Islam, you know, that scares me a little.
Yeah, then more than likely Islam is not what's helping you.
I think
you probably want to address why you would be bad without
I think
Islam.
it's unfair, though, Caddy, to say that more than likely it's not Islam that helps you is really a strong presumption that we can't know. Really, in some ways, he wouldn't be Islamic if it didn't help him. I don't think. I agree with you that there's so much more and that he would be good one way or the other. But I don't think people are of a faith if they don't identify with it in the positive for them. Does that make sense?
You said that he wouldn't be a Muslim if it wasn't good for him.
Right.
I don't know how you base that.
He's a Muslim because he recognizes some sort of a benefit. Say
Not necessarily. Like, I know some Christians who think their life is a mess because of their religion. They feel persecuted. They feel like they're suffering, but they believe that the core propositions of their belief system is true. And so they endure.
Right, they're suffering. All right, so they're suffering, but they believe it's good for them.
Sorry to interrupt. Just before it's too late. Doug mentioned everyone is good, everyone is nice, and no one wants to harm anyone. I read back in 2003, if I'm not mistaken.
I said us four.
Well, You're a good guy. It applies to everyone. A teacher, a biology teacher, told us about a book called Genome by Matt Ridley. And in the book, he mentions that arthritis can happen to some people at their 30s, to some people later in life. And then he made an analogy saying that the same way the proteins that code for Alzheimer's can happen to anyone at different times in their lives, the proteins that code for mental health could also go crazy at any time, and that we do not know how to measure. I just wanted to point out how fickle mental health is. I'm here talking to you guys right now, and I abide to the do not hurt anything, but tomorrow I could have such levels of schizophrenia, and I wouldn't even know why it happened, and I could go and commit a crime. I'm just saying that it is that fickle.
Yeah, I understand.
So what you would want to do is find a worldview that would help you insure against the possible mental health. So I recommend Islam or
I just
Calvinism.
pray, and I'm using quotation marks right now, I pray that I got good genes that will keep me sane for as long as I can go.
I'm screwed then.
Well, sir, we all know it's not proteins that cause mental illness. It's the spirit. It's the demons that are inside on their shoulder, giving you these thoughts.
Let's
The
not
only
forget
thing that causes it is other people interrupting me. Okay? Thank you.
What was that, Eric?
Nothing.
Did you say something?
Oh, that's real funny, young idealist, Steve. That's just hysterical. So funny I forgot to laugh. Haha.
He's interrupting you with props.
I really wish Ash would come in. I really, really, really do. I never really.
Last time he was on, he would just talk, and then basically not listen. That was talking.
Well,
I don't think he's going to change that. It's not. I mean, Doug's trying a good approach, which is exposure, which is what Tony was and others were alluding to. If you're exposed to people, if you know someone who's openly gay, you view gay people differently.
Let me ask you this then. Doug, do you think you would be a good person regardless of whether or not you're an atheist?
I actually believe I'm a better person as an agnostic atheist than as a fundamental Christian.
And so, and I'm sure, Ash, that's why I think it's a bad question to ask. Because we all identify with what we are at the time that we are that, which is the better for us. But to say to him, you can be good with just as good without your faith, I think that's an insult. I would take it as an insult. I think maybe there's a better way to say it. Do you agree or no?
You a better moral person.
Or a worse person.
Right, and that's all Doug's saying.
We know that, Ashraf. Nobody is saying that you're not good with your religion. I think what I'm trying to say is trying to understand how to discuss it with you in a way that is maybe more diplomatic. Maybe not. I don't know. Diplomatic and we don't live in the same area code.
The problem with having no doubt in your religion, Ash, is it gives you a sense of authority, of certainty that can be dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you start claiming that you could tell who's a Muslim and who isn't. Since that's your religion, you're an authority in your religion, you could say that person's a Muslim, that person is not. I know what God would say about this person. I know what God would say about that person. And that's playing God.
We're not saying you're dangerous, Ash, but we're saying that when other people have this sense of authority behind them, like God told them this, and they can't be wrong about it, they might do harm if what they think God told them with 100% certainty hurts someone, then we have a problem, right? So think of Abraham and Isaac. Abraham was convinced in the story that God told him to sacrifice his own son. He didn't once say, oh, maybe this is Satan talking to me and not God. He never once in the story even questioned what all four of us on this blab would never hurt someone because God told us to, because we don't believe in God.
I wonder if, Ash, you said I'm good with my religion and it's not dangerous if it harms no one. So he's okay with Saudi Arabian law against homosexuality, the punishment for being homosexual in Saudi Arabia, lashes, death, imprisonment, all those things he's okay with. So if someone commits a homosexual act in their own home, in the privacy of their own bedroom,
I've seen it
Ash,
in Chicago.
Then the press in Saudi Arabia is not known to be very forthcoming, but here in the States and elsewhere, we get very, very detailed reports of Saudi Arabians being put to death for being homosexual, getting lashed, you name it. So yes, your country does kill for being homosexual.
You have never seen it, and
if you haven't seen it and you're honestly saying that you've never seen it, then you don't know the extent of what your own government does.
Well, no, he might be saying individuals, but Ash, have you ever seen your government kill homosexuals in your country, or even heard of it? Or in prison? Any type of punishment?
For committing a homosexual act.
Who is it then?
He's saying he's German-born citizen, but are you a dual citizen, Ash, or were your parents Saudis?
And that wasn't the question that I asked. I asked if you were okay with the Saudi government doing these things.
You said it was not your government. We can accept
You said, yeah, okay, it's not your government, but are you okay with them doing it?
We get that, Ashraf. But you're living in a country where there's seems to be a sense of hatred towards people based on their sexual orientation, and it seems to be rooted in a religious belief. In that country, are you saying that in the country that you're living in, that you've never seen it or don't know about it? Are you saying that it doesn't happen? Okay,
yeah, we're not.
Ash, this is the question. Let me re-ask it. The question is, are you okay with the Saudi government punishing homosexuals? Are you okay with that? I know it's not your government. I'm asking if you are okay with what they are doing. Putting people to death, imprisoning, just for being homosexual.
I'm not a Saudi Arabian. I don't approve of that.
I don't approve of it either. We're asking if you approve of it.
I don't approve either.
And I'm doctor approved, and I don't approve. Pretty wild. It is.
And Tony doesn't approve.
She's not a true Muslim, right?
See, Ash, this is why. All right, I am Muslim.
So you are okay.
So right. So yes or no? Do you approve?
I'm going to take that as a yes. That was a chicken shit yes, but I'm going to take it as a yes. But back here, you said
this is why I can't take these fucking people seriously, man. They lack the courage of their convictions.
Yeah, I mean, it's dishonesty.
Yeah, I think they can be taken seriously by the behavior around the question. Yeah. It's just not
so I'm going to go back to your previous comments was I am good with my religion, and it's why is it dangerous if I harm no one? But you approve of people being harmed.
You also said that you don't harm anybody.
Fucking religion, because that's the only reason why it's illegal. Because it's in a book, in a religious book. It's not illegal because it's actually bad for society anyway. It hasn't been proven that. You're only basing that because it's in your holy book. And then people should be punished.
Well, let's ask him that question, Caddy. Let's ask him. Besides, your God saying it's a sin. Is there any other reason why you think homosexuality is wrong? Ash?
It's a nonsensical question because God dictates everything. So if God says it, it's wrong.
He might have another answer. I'm curious to see if he does.
Yeah, I wish he wasn't being evasive. It's just, it's not, it doesn't speak of him well.
Yeah, I have
Well, no,
noticed
it makes me question his character.
Yeah, he didn't answer the
Right.
question.
So
Yeah,
if a
you're still
person-
evading the question. So
I'm sorry. If a person is attracted to another person of the same gender, but they don't have sex with that person, are they gay?
We already asked him that.
you already covered that. The point is, okay, Ash, we understand what the problem.
Being gay emotionally by itself is not okay.
Right, but we've
We've already
done
covered
that.
that.
The opposite.
We did that for like a half
The
hour.
question, Ash, that you're evading is if someone commits a homosexual act, they put a penis in their mouth in their own bedroom, in their house, and their neighbor sees it because I don't know why they're looking in, but they see it and they report it, and that person gets arrested. They go to trial or not, and they get lashes or they get in prison, or worse, they get death because somebody took a picture of them. They committed a homosexual act in their own house. Are you okay with the government punishing that person? And you won't answer that question with a yes or no question, with a yes or no answer.
Also, is it anybody's business what he does in his bedroom?
Yeah, of course. So therefore, the fact that you said you're good with your religion, and since you believe it, why is it dangerous if it harms no one? You just prove it does harm people. You
As an
are,
extension of that,
you are okay with people
as an
being harmed
extension of
by
that,
your
yeah.
religion.
As an extension of that, he said he doesn't harm anyone, and by endorsing it, he does.
Yeah, he does endorse it. So yeah, Ash, I'm sorry, but it is dangerous, and you are dangerous.
I hate to say it, I agree with you. I really do. I don't
Your
know.
way of thinking is dangerous. It's against humanity. It's against humans. You value your version of God more than humans. So we should be afraid of you.
Where were you
I'll tell
last night, Caddy, with me and Michael Dove? I needed you last night, Caddy.
I know,
Yeah.
big time, dude.
Yeah, I don't
Couldn't
care, Ash.
fucking
Ash,
believe that, dude. I was blown away.
No
Michael
man
is
has-
such a rational thinker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ashrath, but no, that's not even part of what's being discussed.
Yeah, the problem is in your head.
You're not saying
problem is-
anything that suggests that you've looked at this situation as a human being.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the
considered
point
impact-
is,
I'm
consider the
actually
outcome-
disgusted by
consider
your way
the
of thinking.
outcome of what you believe, as opposed to endorsing the head of the religion that's willing to do these things. It means that you're not thinking critically.
the point is that you support an ideology which is oppressive.
It's
That's the point. You fully support an ideology which has a vested interest in oppressing people's liberties, and I have a problem with that.
Mhm. The question that I ask, and I don't know if Ash,
How is it
That's-
not oppression, though?
Eric, will you not interrupt me?
Yeah, I will. I'm sorry. I apologize. That's my bad.
I wish someone like Ash would have the self-awareness to figure out whether his religion dictates his culture or the culture that he's from dictated the religion. I suspect the culture itself precedes the religion that's oppressive.
Do you think that sometimes when Doug says he needs to pee and he goes off cam, he's really changing his shirt, and sometimes when he says he's changing his shirt, he's really going pee?
I think it's gay that you think that.
Well, hey, I
But it's
can't
not-
help
but
it.
That's not a crime in and of itself. Now, if you were beating off thinking about that, then yes.
Well, fine. You can't see what I'm doing right now. Just saying.
Can I read something to you guys really fast? Just a definition.
frustration fapping.
You guys hear me?
He's always awesome.
Tony, that's the best thing I've heard today. Thank you.
I'm going to read something to
I
you
don't
guys.
want to ask Ash if he's ever masturbated, Steve. You ask him.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
You can?
Mhm.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Oppression is prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or punishment. And that is how can you not see what's happening with gay people there and women as anything but oppression?
Well, that's just the point. When you see it as divine will, that is a threat to people everywhere. I think that's what Yuri and I are trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, I'm willing to accept that Ash sees this as like matter of fact in the way things should be or whatever. I can accept that.
Yeah, and men who beat their wives say that they do it out of...
Really? Really, dude? Really?
What are you talking about? Oh, I guarantee you, if he wouldn't answer the other question, you think he's going to honestly answer whether he has masturbated, which that's a yes. And if he does masturbate still, which is another yes, I don't have to ask Ash to know you masturbate, dude.
What do you mean?
And I'm talking to Steve and Ash are going back and forth as far as if he masturbates or not.
Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, bullshit.
What do you mean? Maybe he just doesn't whack off.
Sure.
That could be true, Christopher, but then he would be in what, the 2 percentile?
What do you mean? You guys whack off, dude? That's disgusting. It's fucking gross.
Almost every day, Christopher.
Dude, do you know it's gay to touch a dick?
Not your own.
Yeah, but if you're going pee or you're washing it off, dude. But if you're like, you know,
hey,
shaking one of them twice.
That's lusting after a penis.
Allah made me with a high T count. Okay, what am I to do?
High T count. Doug doesn't worry about that low T. He's whacks off 5 times a day.
So what do you guys mean?
The only way to change a guy like Ash's mind is, I think, to help him realize that there are great, moral, loving, compassionate people in this world who are not Muslim, who are even atheists, and that he really doesn't need his religion. He doesn't need that comfort of the afterlife. He can live a meaningful, purposeful life without it. And I think that might take decades for him to see and understand that. And then maybe you can sort of chip away on his confidence that the Quran is the word of God. But even then, like, he has to, I'd say, like, the vast majority of believers, it's an emotional thing. And so once you deal with the emotional side, then you can get into, well, maybe some of the Quran is false. Maybe some is true. And then weaken his confidence in the Quran. And then probably years after that, the whole house of cards crumbles.
I think someone who is as stubborn as Ash is, and yes, Ash, I think you are very stubborn. You could disprove me. You could say you're wrong if you want and tell me why you're not stubborn, why you're open-minded. But when someone is that stubborn and so set in their ways, the only way they could change their mind is if it comes from someone that they trust or someone that they hold in high esteem, telling them something different, something that opens their eyes. So they won't accept any information from any of us. None of us are capable of common sense or logic or compassion. So it has to come from someone in his circle, someone that he holds highly.
I have a question also. Let me know when that's okay. Ash, I have a question for you. Do you think that any of the 4 of us are saying anything to hurt you?
I have a follow-up question on his comment. He says we are entitled to our opinion. I'm curious to know if he believes that atheists are entitled to their opinion in Saudi Arabia. Like, Ash, would you say I'm entitled to my opinion if I was living in Saudi Arabia? And if I said to passerbyers on the street, Muhammad is a liar? That's my opinion. I think Muhammad's a liar. Am I entitled to that in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, you're entitled to get your fucking head cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that anybody can believe what they want. Nobody is saying, and I don't get the connection.
Steve, you're talking to Matar right now. I hope you realize that.
Yes, I'm Matar. That's awesome. That's just sad. I mean, I'm with you, Doug. At the end of the day, like that extreme way of thinking, I think, is the true danger. It sucks when you have clear evidence that you could link that to being Muslim and a specific religion. But I mean, the true cause is the mentality, not the religion. The religion is bad, but that religion only gets picked up by that mentality, I think. And how do you change that mentality?
Ashraf, I think that's what you're doing.
You can't force people to believe anything against their will, but you can throw them off buildings.
Yeah, but you can say that they don't believe in the right thing, meaning they commit homosexual acts because they don't think it's wrong. They feel that they can do whatever the fuck they want in their own home, which is
Ashraf. I don't. Oh, sorry. God damn it. Sorry. My bad.
Kudos to you, Eric, for catching yourself.
Yeah.
Sucks. I
progress.
hate it. Hey, Ashraf, nobody is criticizing the fact that you're Muslim. I think we're we're trying to address what you're willing to say and then justify it behind Islam. If you weren't Muslim, you may not be saying these things that result in exactly what you say they don't result in: oppression, harm. I think that's where part of this distinction is. If the word Islam is taken away, the things you're thinking now are pretty severe.
I think, does Ash think that like being gay is, there's a law in the United States that says you have to be gay or something? No, the law in the United States is you have the freedom to do pretty much whatever the fuck you want in your own home, as long as you're not hurting somebody or doing something against someone's will. The problem is in your worldview, in your country that you live in now, that you don't want to claim, you have the power, Ash, you have the power to go against someone and do something against someone's will. You could say that what somebody does in their house is not okay in your view, and therefore that person needs to be executed. And you are okay with that because you think it violates some sort of moral law that's in your holy book. Yeah, you could choose to obey the laws of My Little Pony, unicorns, whatever you want to call, whatever it's in the figment of your imagination that's your God. You can obey that all day, but don't impose that on me.
Yeah, I don't acknowledge your creator as an entity which exists.
I think you're fucking crazy. I don't think a creator exists.
Like, I don't acknowledge that there is a creator. Mm-hmm. So I choose to follow laws that, well, right, like you're not personally imposing, but to support an ideology which does impose is an imposition.
Like, for example, Ash, you said you were born in Germany. let's say, I don't know what the population in Germany is, but let's say it's 50 million. Let's say there was 51 million Ashes living in Germany. Would you agree the laws would change?
In addition, I think you can ask him about the history of Germany around World War II, where they ended up saying we were just following orders.
I was going to get to that. What's that experiment, the evil experiment that they...
That's about the college dorm where they put them in the basement and made it like a prison?
No, not that one. That one's fucked up. But the one that one's pretty good, actually. It's a good
That's
example.
an awesome study.
Yeah, that is a good one. But the one that that they had the button and they just heard someone screaming at the end, and they said, "Just go ahead, press the button."
Oh,
Keep pressing the button. And every time they press the button, the person would scream more and scream more, and they were just following orders.
What does that have to do with anything, Ashraf? You're totally not answering questions that are viable.
Yeah. All you're saying is that your father fucked you up, is what you're saying. You don't realize that, but if you could invest money in a therapist,
and there's nothing wrong with him.
Your dad fucked you up.
And there's nothing wrong with your father wanting you to be raised in a Muslim society. It's just that that's not even being discussed.
Yeah, sadly, Islam does not give you the therapy you probably need. I would go to a psychiatrist and discuss the feelings that you probably are not addressing about your father. Because it sounds like you came from an authoritative, oppressive environment.
And Ashraf, in Israel, the Palestinians are not treated well in a lot of times. And the oppression used to cause harm and a sense of despair, is that out of somehow justified because that's part of the Israeli culture? I don't think so. That's why I don't live there anymore.
I would be pretty pissed. I mean, Ash, Germany sounds like it's, I mean, I don't know. Would you have rather had grown up in Germany? Would you say you're kind of mad at your dad that he took you to Germany?
I lived in Israel, Polly, so yes, I do think that. I saw it firsthand.
Let's not have a Jewish pissing match right now.
We're not.
Yeah, because I'm the most Jew of everyone in here, and I'm willing to go to task on that. I self-identify as a Jewish transsexual midget today.
I thought you were going to go the Kabbalah route, like Madonna.
No, that's tomorrow.
It's like Jewish yoga.
Kabbalah?
I don't know.
I know about Kabbalah if you want to know about it. I spent a lot of time hanging out at this Kabbalist meditation center in southern Arizona.
Aren't they?
I want to address what Ash just said. I am thankful for my father for not living in Germany. So Ash, here's a question for you. Do you think the Saudi Arabian culture is superior to the German culture? And culture, when I say culture, I mean that includes religion, government, the whole, everything. Do you think the Saudi Arabian culture is superior? No, you don't. Okay. Do you think it's better? That the Saudi Arabian culture is better than the German culture?
Well,
Paul, prefer it.
That's cool, Paulie. You're more of a Kabbalist than I am. I'll admit that, dude. I didn't have the opportunity to go to Safed for a year. I just had the opportunity to live in Arizona for a couple. So,
what makes it better?
And in what respects is the Saudi Arabian culture better than the German culture? I think I know his answer, but I'm going to write it down before he types it. Okay, I wrote my answer down.
Is
one
much
word.
more safe?
Oh yeah, safe.
Real safe in Iraq.
crime. Doug nailed it.
What did you say, Doug?
I predicted he'd say crime, and he did. Basically.
A lot safer for women, for gays.
So what we can deduce from this, I think, is that Ash values safety over freedom.
Yes, I think that's well put, Christopher.
I value freedom over safety, personally.
Yeah, same here.
No, it isn't. Well, how is freedom limited? Because when you're harming other people, it might be.
Yeah, sadly, Ash, if there's anything that's great about America, is the fact we don't believe the bullshit statement you just made that freedom is limited and that it is not absolute. That's the foundation of the United States of America. It's comprised of people leaving countries like yours and cultures like yours where they are oppressed and coming to a place where you can say and do whatever the fuck you want, essentially.
Ash, I hate to say this, but I really thought at the beginning that you were going to be not like this. You're more nuanced than a lot of people who are hateful, but your lack of willingness to be insightful of yourself and to challenge anything that you seem
Good
to
point,
be
Steve.
very despairing. I mean, I live in the United States. I wouldn't say the United States is perfect. I'm an American Jew. I don't think Judaism is perfect. I see a lot of flaws in a lot of things that are part of me. In my person, I'm clearly not perfect. I come here and I do things that often, but it is your problem. It really is. Your lack of what you show by this line of responding is how fragile you are. And that should be a problem for anybody.
Wonder something. I don't know if Doug, you've ever asked Muslims about the Old Testament and how much of the Old Testament they believe.
All of it.
Yeah, I would say the most of it.
Because a person that wasn't fragile. Sorry, I just want to respond to him. A person that's not fragile responds to questions, takes responsibility for themselves, is willing to think critically, is willing to be wrong and accept it and change. You're not willing to do any of those things. To do any of those things is too much of a threat to you. You're not being human. You're being inhuman. Human beings make mistakes. I guess not you.
So, yeah, I was going to ask Doug, like, how much of it do they think is true as far as the stories? I know they say that there's a lot of inconsistencies, and I think they blame that on translations and all those kind of things. But as far as the facts, like, for example, did Moses lead the Israelites out of ancient Egypt through the desert?
My guess is they wouldn't be much different than Christians on how they view the Old Testament. They don't see the prophecies like the Christians do, like messianic prophecies. But I just found something very interesting. Guess which country has the higher murder rate, Germany or Saudi Arabia? Answer, Saudi Arabia. Did you know that, Ash? And Saudi Arabia.
About rape?
Let's see.
Well, rape's probably not considered a crime. So
I bet there's a lot more homosexual acts happening in Germany, though.
I bet not. There's probably more scat. That's for sure. Oh, homosexual acts?
There's more porn in Saudi Arabia. Believe it or not.
It is Meta. It's per 10,000. It's 0.8 in Germany and 0.9 in Saudi Arabia.
Ash, I specifically said nothing about Muslim people. I said something about you, and you conflated it to be about Muslim people. Yeah, a Muslim can be a sinner too. I would think it's a sin to not be genuine and honest.
Hateful. Harboring hatred for others in the heart.
I'm sorry. I'll stop. I don't do it I do it out of habit. I call Muslim for some reason. My bad. again.
Just us Americans up here talking about all them Muslim Arabs.
Ash, I'll tell you something. We don't care if you're honest or not.
Well, I don't think he's being honest. But I don't think he knows what it is to be honest.
We don't care if you're honest with us or not. I do care if you're honest with yourself, and I'm almost 100% certain that you are not honest with yourself. Because you think God is watching all your thoughts. So you therefore don't think honestly. That's a problem that we don't have. I'm able to think whatever I want. I don't think anybody's hearing my thoughts. So I can think whatever I want. You don't have that luxury.
I'm trying to look up rape rates comparing two countries, because it'd be interesting to see if it's actually true that Germany's safer than Saudi Arabia. I wonder what Ash would say to that.
Ashraf, what does it mean to be honest with oneself? That you're disagreeing with what Caddy said. It's like you've got a block on your ears, and it's filtering something totally different than what's being said, over and over and over again.
That's called theism, Eric.
Well, it's called a lot of things. I think it's called fragility.
Ash is actually no different than fundamental Christians that we talk to here on Blab.
It's no different than a lot of my older relatives that were total Zionists also. I'm just saying it is an extremism that is rampant. I agree with you. In some ways, he's of the same model as the Zionists that he's so opposed to. And that's really what I was trying to say before. It's not the belief system that should be guiding us. It should be our individual sense of egalitarianism, I guess.
I think to push back a little bit on what Matt is saying, that USA has 4 times more rape than India. I would question how much rape gets reported in India. And if you factor things like arranged marriages and sanctioned rape, I mean, I doubt that India has that much lower of a rate, because you don't see people getting gang-banged on public buses in Kentucky. You see that shit in Bombay. You see that shit in Calcutta.
I heard a really startling statistic the other day. 9 out of 10 people approve of gang rape.
That fucking PC culture right there.
Had to happen. Sorry. Someone had to make a joke in here.
Well, I'm surprised it's that low.
I'll jump off if Ash wants to jump on.
I'll jump off. Ash, you want to come on? I'll jump off. I'll just leave. Maybe he'll come in.
Yeah, I know. And 7 out of 10 people believe those statistics. Well, here comes Maytar to teach us about Islam.
Well, all the fake money that he's been making, I wonder if it's worth more or less after Brexit.
Oh, thanks, dude. Doesn't have one of those countries in the database. It's not really helping much.
Hey, Ash, would you at least concede that the majority of terrorist attacks in the world are associated, at least in some way, with Islam?
I'm booting this guy out of here, guys.
Who?
That's 47, whatever.
Oh, that's just Maytar, dude.
That's why I'm booting him.
That's cool.
Yeah,
You gotta
silly
take your fucking
violence.
juice.
Again,
Self-loading. So unbecoming.
then don't be an idiot.
He's racist.
Me?
So, Ash, do you want to
I'm
answer
big-
my question? So far, your answer is like dropping nuclear bombs.
Oh, I see. He's saying that America is more of a terrorist.
Yes, I am.
The difference is, Ash, you're talking
Oh,
about
I thought they meant tourists. I'm
a
sorry.
military, a state-sponsored military, and we're not saying that Saudi Arabia or
Justified
Syria or
from
something.
either religion.
Eric, will you shut the fuck up while I'm talking?
No, he won't.
I try, guys. I do. I swear.
But so when you do it, how come it bothers you when people do it to you? I don't understand.
Probably because I know how hard it frustrates me to do it, and I just have a hard time not doing it, and I lose my thoughts so fast.
Write them down.
Huh?
Write them down.
I actually am doing that right now. I actually have notebook, pen. Where did I put the pen here? That's why I grabbed the notebook.
The distinction I was going to make, Ash, is you could say that the U.S. government and the U.S. military has committed terrorism acts. I'll grant you that. But you don't see Americans, individual Americans, taking it upon themselves to commit terrorist acts across the world. Or Christians or Buddhists doing that on a regular basis. However, you do see Muslims take it upon themselves individually. to
Not
commit
long home.
terrorist
I've had
acts.
some dinner. I'm just chilling out,
How do you answer that?
winding down.
Ashraf, also, when you said people commit crimes, not their religions, people hide behind their religions to justify the crimes that they commit.
Yeah, Ash, way to ignore what I just said. This is why it's impossible to have a conversation with you, because you ignore and you don't listen very well. You don't absorb information very well. The U.S. could commit all the terrorist acts it wants, but Americans, the citizens of the United States, the individual citizens. you don't
And I
see
got a
them
Rolex and I drive a
committing terrorist acts across
Lex.
the world.
Let me put that on, yeah.
And I think you don't see
No,
Americans
no,
condoning
even you can.
what the government does, and we speak
Yes,
out against
really.
it because we have
Ash,
freedom.
yes, really. When was the last mass shooting that you saw of an American walking somewhere and shooting up a place? When was the last time you saw an American suicide bomber? Tell me, just go ahead and name them.
Orlando, yeah. There's been a lot, actually.
I'm saying across the world, dude.
Like internationally.
Again,
mean?
sir, drones are the U.S. government. That's not a fucking guy. That's not a 16-year-old sending a drone. That's the U.S. government doing that.
Oh, and I
Post that.
want to give Ash some credit here. He was right. I finally found a website where it compares all the crime, various types of crime. Saudi Arabia is ranked 79th. Germany's ranked 77th. They're basically almost tied. I'm wondering, but Saudi Arabia does edge out Germany just barely. I'm wondering if that's what Ash would have expected. So you're right, Ash. Saudi Arabia is safer, but just barely compared to Germany. Yeah, it's nationmaster.com.
Yeah, Zane or Michael, you're right about that. There's definitely mass shootings in the United States. And you could say that mostly males are the ones that commit terrorist acts, if you want to narrow it down. But there is a larger percentage of foreign. If somebody goes to a different country and commits a terrorist act, they're more likely to be Muslim. You don't see many Americans go to Japan and shoot up Japanese people for no reason. You don't see Japanese people go to Indonesia and shoot up Indonesians for no reason. You see governments do shit. You see the American fucking drone the fuck out of people. You see Russians bomb the fuck out of people. You see that all over the place. You don't see individual citizens, and particularly you don't see Buddhists, random countries or citizens of a country go to other countries and commit terrorist acts for no fucking reason. But however, you see plenty of Muslims do that. Why is that?
Yeah, I wonder if he's more of a nationalist than he is tied to a religion.
Who's George Will?
George Will is a conservative political pundit that's on, I think, NBC or ABC a lot. You'll know who he is if you look at his picture.
Face the Nation.
And he also was in the baseball videos with that, what's his name did?
Oh, yeah, I know that dude. Sorry, I just looked at the picture.
His voice cracks me up.
So he officially said he's leaving the Republican Party?
According to CNN.
Wow. Dude, Lindsey Graham I hate the dude. He's basically a woman. But he's like, dude, at some point you got to put your country over your party, and this is the time to do it.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he literally said that. That's like the new bandwagon, like country over party. Like, there's no way they'll vote for Trump.
Hey, Ash, do you believe Sharia law should only apply to Muslims, or do you think it would work for the core principles would work for any nation if they adopted it?
So, I don't understand the point of that. Are you trying to say that the U.S. government does fucked up shit and is shady as all get out?
So funny.
Agreed.
So we asked you about Islam and Sharia, and you told us about Ramadan, but it had nothing to do with the question again.
Well, I think he's implying that no Sharia law is only for Muslims.
Yeah, and it's a noble thing. It's still an active.
Oh, I guess I understand that then. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's with good intentions that we want women to cover themselves.
Yeah.
All right. They say Brazil is the most neutral country diplomatically. We've never been involved in a war, and I like that title. And when you say, like you said, like, have you ever seen an American doing this? Have you ever seen an American doing this?
Mm-hmm.
No country has institutionalized killing outside of its borders like the U.S. man. And I believe me, I lived there for 10 years. I was married to an American woman. I breathed the same air as you for 10 years. And it's hard for me to, like, there isn't a 100% Brazilian serve. There will never be a 100% American serve.
Mm-hmm.
But please understand that no country has ever killed outside of its borders like the U.S.
Can I answer Sir real quick here? So the reason why you're saying that, you're saying Americans have been more efficient in doing that. But if you go throughout history, every single empire has tried to control the world and put people independently throughout history.
But
Americans have just gotten better at it.
I know, but when you make the comparison that like a Muslim comes over and kills like they did at that club, terrorists, as we know it.
And I'm not complaining I grant the guy was American.
Yeah, I please ask you to put yourself in the place of a child who sees her grandmother being blown to pieces by a drone. That's all I ask you to do. And no country has the power like the U.S. has to sugarcoat it, like Hollywood does it for Americans. Right. That's why I posted that link. It isn't like I tell you because the best I can give you from me is my honesty. So there hasn't been a more complacent mess.
Sir, can I jump in for a second with you?
Yeah, go ahead, man, because I want to answer that.
Sir, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you, and I think one of the differences is that in the this isn't to minimize the destruction that the United States has caused. I think that something that distinguishes us from some other countries is that we can speak out against these actions. Maybe we don't do it enough because it's not affecting us directly, but we have that right to speak out against it, and in a lot of other places they don't. It doesn't.
Now, I have a question for you, then, Eric, if I may. I'm sorry if I interrupted you. I utter the song from Bob Dylan. How many roads must a man cross? You know which song I'm talking about. Before you can call him a man. So how many people must die before Americans go over? Like, I was so happy when they went over and did that thing at the Capitol Hill, the sit-in.
Yeah.
That was, like Pete said, democracy at its best. When I had left the U.S. when Occupy Wall Street happened, I wish I were still in New York City, just so I could be there. I was never as proud of Americans as I was when Occupy Wall Street happened. Like the most numbed out, and I must mention Bread and Circus from the Italian Empire Tactics. Like the most numbed out by Bread and Circus messes are the American messes. And I only tell you this because I feel comfortable enough that I can give you my honesty. You know what I mean? I'm not even trying to be, like I don't even, like I said.
It's an accusation.
You know what I mean? Like, let's not overlook and not consider the fact that the U.S. is the country that kills the most people outside of the U.S.
I have it's very disheartening. I don't know why we don't know more about it when.
That's why I posted that link for you.
So, sir, but do you not see that that's irrelevant to what I'm saying?
How is it?
Because the difference is you're still talking about the United States government acting on its own interests. I'm saying the population of the United States. There's 300 million people here. Maybe there's 100,000. Maybe there's 500,000 in the totality of the government.
American Army, armed forces.
Correct. Thank you. That's the
citizens.
It's a state-sponsored terrorism.
American citizens.
It's literally
serve. It's not the same as walking into a fucking nightclub and shooting up people. It's not the same going to Paris and shooting up a fucking concert.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Household in a civilian area.
You understand the motives are different. The motives are different. Walking into a cartoonist, a fucking comic book place that just comical satire, and shooting up that place. If you don't see the difference, I can't help you, man.
How is that different from going to droning a hospital? Medicine Without Frontiers. That hospital is not bombed.
I got a call, man. I'll get back here in a second.
All right, I'm gonna stay on. I'll stay on.
So you know what I mean? But Eric, you see what I'm saying? Like at no time I'm just being more skeptical than anybody else about how.
Right.
And I'm not. I hope you don't think that I'm. Actually, I am against like the U.S. international diplomatic.
I am too. But let me just jump in for 1 second, Serve. As a citizen, I have no.
It is not a false equivalency, believe me, dude. Because you only know your side.
As a citizen, I have no say in military strategy. None. I can speak out against it. I have no say in it at all. It's its own entity. It's like that with other countries too. I think we just have bigger toys and more of them.
And you do it cleaner too. But I must say, please consider the fact
that Americans are accountable to what their military does, but we literally don't have any say in it. Not that we should.
That's the thing, though. Like it's like a case of complacency be gone. You know what I mean? I know you guys are not responsible for it, but unfortunately, those Muslims, they do not understand that you get played by your government into wars. I know. I lived with the average American flesh and bone citizen, and I know he's good. But those guys do not, and that's why they kill you. And it's up to you to tell your government to not have such aggressive policies overseas. That's all I'm saying. Like, if you were more capable of saying, "Whoa, this drone thing is not good," because I'm not, I ask you to put yourself in the place of a child who sees the grandfather getting killed.
I get that.
I would be growing up to be parents too. You know what I mean? Like, it hasn't happened, and you know what I mean. Like, but how do you know which way your life is going to take you if you watch your grandmother blown to pieces?
Sir, I lived in Chicago for a long time, and every summer we have the Air and Water Show. And they fly the jets over the city preparing for the show really low. And it's loud as can be.
I'm telling you guys, I'm only here, and I'm not American.
We have the show, and the people cheer ecstatically when they see the fighter jets. And there's a bunch of times that I've thought about it.
You understand that I'm only here.
Palestinian child feels when they hear those same songs.
But
it's very scary. Sad.
You understand I'm only here saying this the way I am is because I am a man of the Illuminism. Like the dictionary, the separation of state and church. You guys know me well enough so I can present it to you guys this way. You don't think that I'm going to,
I accept that completely. I said that right from the beginning. You're not insulting, you're making observations.
I'm just saying.
Ashraf has tried to make some insults. Your whole system
before I jump off, Timothy, you had written some stuff. I don't know if you want to tell me anything.
Right. So to say that what happened in Orlando is the same as an accident with a drone, where we hit a hospital by accident, or we hit something by accident, is a false equivalency. And I'll push back too. You've spoken enough. Let me speak a little bit. There are times when our government has to get involved. You know why? Because there's a lot of shitty people and a lot of shitty countries in this world. And if we let it go, we let go exactly what happened in World War, right before World War II, right before we got in. We'll have shitty fucking Hitler people running around doing bad things. And you know what? That is why my grandparents came after World War I, before World War II here. I'm so glad they did, because they would be dead because of crappy freaking countries that say, we don't want to get into any fights, so let's not have a big army. Let's make sure that we just kind of coddle people and we go like that. That's the reason why I'm happy that my grandmother and my grandfather got out of Ukraine after World War I and before World War II, because they would probably be dead, and they would be dead because of countries like France and like other countries that didn't protect themselves. So
let me ask you a question.
You can take your we're a country that hasn't been in any whites. You know what? That's a bad thing. You should stand up for people who don't have any rights, who are going to get killed by other countries. Our country is the one that went in and tried to save some Muslim people from getting killed in Serbia and that type of area during the mid-90s against Christians who were trying to kill other people.
May I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
What is your take on the creation of ISIS?
The creation of ISIS is caused by a complete vacuum in a piece of shit country that was basically, ISIS is created very quickly from something that was either going to happen then or later. Basically, let's wait and let Saddam Hussein die and let his sons fight it out, kill the country, and create the vacuum. So we can do it now or we can do it later. That's the reality of it.
It's not. That's not it ultimately.
And this is the way it is. If you have dictatorships in countries that are going to be like this, and you decide like, well, no, you know what? They're dictators, but we don't want to get involved. We don't have the authority to go into other countries and do anything. Then you put off the inevitable.
Okay.
And that's what's going to happen.
No.
Timothy.
So do you want the killing to happen now or later? And how many do you want to kill?
You're assuming the outcome. You're assuming the future.
You are right. You are right that I'm assuming.
Instead of doing
it. But
that, it's much better.
But I will say this.
To say the possibility or that it
absolutely.
happen a certain way.
All right. It could happen that way. But either way, either way, it's going to happen. There's going to be some fighting.
You don't know that. What's going to happen either way? You don't know.
But let me ask you something. What has happened in Syria right now? The exact same thing.
What's happened is history. You're talking about future.
Right. What I'm saying is this: when you have countries where you have dictators, and you see that I had some Korean food. I sucked down that soup today. That's why I'm all fucking crazy right now. When you have Syrian country where you have a dictator, someone who is basically a minority in a country with a majority, and you think that the people are going to sit around and do nothing, this is what you get. You get bloodshed, and you get people who exit that freaking piece of shit country from those piece of shit leaders.
Okay, before I leave, just
you're saying a lot.
And guess what? The United States didn't even get into that fight, and they probably should have.
Let me interject. Before I leave, I don't want you to think that I'm giving you final answers. I'm actually asking you to question more. And it's funny because I'm about to post a link from an RT affiliate. But that's all I ask from you. And I'm very happy that you can have this conversation. You understand that I see you because I have lived in your country, and my culture is not. It's a Roman product like yours is from the Roman Empire. The Brazilian culture and the American culture is almost like, the same. Just please question more. And I'm going to post a link. If you have the time, take a look at it, because it puzzles me. And that's why I'm questioning. I'm not saying you're 100% wrong for invading other countries, but I'm presenting you facts that there are a lot of iffy killings, unjustified killings that happen.
Of course. Of course, that's happened before, and it goes without saying. But just because a country does a bad thing one time doesn't mean that they can't do a good thing in other times. It's not that's the dirty hands.
But I was really sad because I was in the U.S. when that happened. Abu Ghraib prison.
Mm-hmm.
That was so sad because everyone was for the war, for the Iraq war, and I'm like, man, that is going to be such a stain. It shouldn't happen. If you're doing something as delicate as invading another country, you better make sure that your military is squeaky clean. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
Do you think that Saddam Hussein did worse things to his people, or do you think he always treated his people better than what we did there?
I understand.
All right.
You compare. You're like my mom used to do that. My mom used to say, "Kids in Africa starve," and I'm like, I know, but I can't live my life based on what the fact. You can't prepare your military based on how bad Saddam was.
Then you need to make sure that you, as I've been told from Eric, to put those if, ands, and buts in there, that you put them in as well, and understand that there are going to be people who will push back on these ideas.
I believe in a superhero country. I just hope that it is transparent and good enough to beat that superhero. And as a non-American, when I look at America, I'm like, come on, guys, we need a superhero. And you're not being like a squeaky clean superhero right now.
Yeah, that's what human beings are. They're not perfect.
I understand, dude. I understand. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? All due respect, just saying question more, because then you can.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm doing with you, and I hope that you question more as well.
Definitely.
Tim, I want to push back right now. When you said, "Did Saddam do worse things to his people than we did?" I think that's like saying, I raped her softly.
No, basically I was going after his point. You're right in a way that there's no. It's
not an equivalency.
Right, and there is no violence that it should be like, well, this violence isn't it, this and that and the other thing. It isn't as bad as this and that. But sometimes you need to have violence. Unfortunately, it's called war, in order to actually have less violence later and kill less people.
Well, going back to
and actually open up some type of society.
I agree.
And right now, the thing is that, first off, you've got basically these countries in the Middle East which are basically run by dictators, and the people are getting pissed off and leaving it. Unfortunately, they've set themselves up. Of course, they're going to follow these leaders for years because they have the religion that basically tells them you've got a big brother who's watching over you and you should follow them. Anyway,
can anyone hear me? By the way, I just had some new headphones.
Say that again.
We can hear you.
All right. I think you're making
Perfect.
a very broad generalization, Timothy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I there are certain things I could be wrong about, but I will push back against basically people saying that America's bad, America didn't do it right. The reason why the Muslim countries, why ISIS was created, was because of the United States. These things are going to happen anyway, and it's actually not our fault. It's internally their issues.
No.
So
I think both sides are wrong.
Anyway, and you literally can't know that. I'm saying it again. You're making claims about the future.
I'm just.
Go ahead.
All right, but I'm just doing a little research into the past here, and it seems like America's first run-in with like Islamic terrorism was a very, very long time ago.
Yeah.
Long before American imperialism.
Yeah, Tripoli.
Just reading now about the Barbary War, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the link to Wikipedia right there. And it seems like, while I agree that American imperialism isn't helping this circumstance, I refuse to acknowledge that American imperialism created this issue. I'd say that American imperialism is a overreaction to aggression from yes, we have interests, and yes, they're financially based, and yes, they're in oil. And something I want to say about what you were saying earlier, Tim, is that World War II is the last honorable thing America did militarily, in my estimation.
True.
So while World War I and World War II, yes, we came to the rescue when other people didn't want to do that. Ever since then, we've just been swinging our dick around irresponsibly everywhere.
And I'll say that you may be right, and that's a bad thing, but it's essentially just like the economists trying to keep the economy from flailing wildly. Unfortunately, we have to go in with a big stick. Instead of just carrying a big stick, we actually have to swipe it around every once in a while to kind of keep people in line, so that we don't have these
economy.
We don't have these huge wars.
No, you can let banks fail so that they learn, and they know that they can't rely on daddy, the government, to bail them out every time. I disagree with you on that, Timothy. You don't need the government to be swinging around every time the banks fuck up.
No, I'm not talking about
that's
banks.
A different issue.
But that's, I'm not talking about banks.
Can I come in here? And I saw a YouTube clip of Noam Chomsky. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they're really interesting. You don't like him?
No, not
I
at
don't
all.
like him either.
Because he's basically just an apologist. He thinks that everything about America is bad. He's a very intelligent
He's
guy.
the grandfather.
Okay.
Regressive leftism, I think.
I don't want to.
He's everything that's terrible about liberalism, about the new liberalism, or the
I don't know anything
the
about
liberal
him, so
liberalism.
I don't want to defend him. He had an interesting clip on YouTube that I saw. He said that the U.S. they bombed a Doctors Without Borders hospital in Afghanistan because they thought some terrorist was in there. Well, turned out that that information was incorrect, and they thought Taliban was in there, and a bunch of children died, and bunch of innocent civilians died.
Yep.
And a lot of people, they said like, oh my God, this was Noam Chomsky talking, like, oh my God, the United States fucked up. They bombed the Doctors Without Borders hospital, and there wasn't even Taliban in there, which they thought was in there. And Chomsky's point was that even if Taliban was in there, the US does not have the right to bomb the hospital. It is not our problem. The United States should defend itself if Afghanistan or the Taliban ever, is a real threat to U.S. existence, but it is definitely not. And whatever they do in Afghanistan, however horrible it is, that's their problem. And I really agree with that. It's a different way of
I would have
looking at it.
agreed with you. I would have agreed with you all the way until September 11th, 2001. You would have been absolutely right. But again, we're not going to stand around and wait for it to come to us like we waited for it to come to us in World War II. We're done with it. We're done with. And like I say, I'm so glad I'm out of Europe. I love it when Europeans will tell me how Americans, they need to win all the time. They don't like soccer because there can be ties. They need to have overtime and a win. And I always say, I'm so glad. Okay, I'm so glad my grandparents got out of that crazy part of the world, which can't get along with each other, that fights with each other over religion, over this person is, Hungarian, this person is Czech, this person is from wherever. They can't even get along. They can't even.
Europeans are not fighting.
European. They can't even keep it. Yeah, not anymore. I think they finally got tired out. But
they'll be fighting again soon.
Anyways, you're not debating my point. I made a point about that the U.S. shouldn't intervene with the Taliban. Anyways, it doesn't oppose a threat
right.
to the US.
I did actually say something to your point, which is I would have agreed to you until September 11th, 2001. If you can't understand why I said that, then you can't understand. I don't know what to say.
What is your point? If I can't understand it.
My point is. Sure. My point is that, yes, we shouldn't be involved in countries until those countries interfere in our business. And then, unfortunately, we have to interfere into their business. Now, if you want to make the argument that we should be out of there by now, we can make that argument. And then we can make the argument that once we pull out of Afghanistan, there's going to be some ISIS that's going to pull in
I don't want to make
things to the people. No. Right. Of course, you don't want to make that argument. That could happen, though, couldn't it? I mean, that's the argument that's happening out now. That we
Taliban had nothing to do with 9/11. The Taliban had nothing to do with 9/11.
Right, understood. But
so
when we asked,
it's a little bit strange to connect one thing to the other.
Sure, when we asked them to hand over Saddam Hussein, they didn't, and right then they became
Saddam Hussein.
Right,
or confusing
the other one. Yeah,
the other one. Okay, you got your facts all mingled up. I think you need.
No, actually, I don't. I just made a mistake.
That's ours on Wikipedia. Okay, so
I just made a mistake. I mean,
even Osama bin Laden.
If you can direct it, did the United States invade Afghanistan because the Taliban wasn't going to hand them over? Yes or no? Is that the stated reason, or were we mistaken? You can make the argument that we're mistaken, but that was going on. But that's what we said, and that's why we went in. So
can I talk too, or do you want to have a monologue and just talk into a black box all day?
Okay. You could. I'll let you talk, but make sure that when I make one slip, that you don't make it sound like I'm confused. Did you not say I was confused?
I think you still are confused. Yes.
Okay. Then go ahead and let me go ahead.
So there's the number one famous lawyer in the Netherlands. He had a television show, Advocates, the Devil's Advocate. And he made a really interesting case. It's like he defends someone that regular people are surprised that needs to be defended. But in this first episode, it was about Osama bin Laden. He says that there is zero evidence. If you treat it like a criminal case, if you go by empirical evidence, there's nothing to stand on to connect 9/11 to Osama bin Laden. Now, that's not saying that Bush and Cheney did it. No one is saying that. There's no connection between Osama bin Laden and 9/11. I think that the Saudi hijackers of the 1914 or something were Saudi. Sure, let's say those hijackers were all identified correctly by the U.S. government. Sure, but the connection to extrapolate it to Osama bin Laden, who has denied it repeatedly to have anything to do with 9/11, that's something else. So I don't even believe that the United States, like if someone was responsible. For sure, the U.S., I think, should talk to the government and get that government to arrest that person if we knew he was in Pakistan or Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever. And if the government does not want to help, I think, reasonably you could say, sure, the U.S. should, break its ties with the government, get the people from the embassy out there back to the U.S. and maybe invade and,
so are you saying,
or whatever.
Are you saying that we should have invaded Pakistan after we found out that Osama bin Laden was in a city which was probably well known that in their military that there was somebody there.
Am I saying that?
Are you making that argument?
US, no, not at all. Are you listening? Because I'm saying that there is no connection between 9/11 and Osama bin Laden. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So even if Osama bin Laden was in the Netherlands, it doesn't matter. He has nothing to do, as far as we know, with 9/11. Maybe he's guilty, but we have no evidence to stand up. It's like you're still innocent until proven guilty. Whether you are accused of raping 50 babies or whether you did 9/11, doesn't matter. You are innocent until proven guilty. Doesn't matter how extreme the case is.
So are you saying that the United States government should have been allowed to try Osama bin Laden, and that they should have actually the Taliban should have handed him over so that he could have gone to a trial and either been found guilty or not guilty? Is that what you're saying?
Not at all. Again, I'm saying that there is no proof to stand on to connect 9/11 to Osama bin Laden.
But you will say, right? You're saying that, and I understand. But if there are other people who believe otherwise, would you say that it's okay for someone to go on trial for something they did? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Yeah. I am all for the international courts. Definitely.
Let him
war criminals, like whoever was responsible for 9/11. That's something where thousands of innocent civilians died. That's a huge war crime. People should be tried. I think Bush should be tried too by the same logic. And I think Netanyahu should be tried too by the same logic. Now, Israel is not part of the international court, but I think the United States is. And I think it would serve the planet globally if, for every now and then, like, for example, a rich Saudi king or a US president would go to jail, and that, the next president or the next head of the Saudi Arabia, he would think twice before Saudi Arabia is right now, they killed 9/11 worth of innocent civilians in Yemen. They led a coalition with a bunch of other Arabic states. They killed a lot of Yemenis. Okay, they killed 2 9/11s worth of people, and half of them, 3,000 people were innocent civilians. The other half were supposedly, according to the United Nations, one of the few organizations that I trust. I trust Reuters, I trust The Guardian, I trust the United Nations. And 6,000 people died. Half of them were innocent civilians. I don't care whether they're Muslim or not. Like, it's a terrible thing that happens. And I'm personally, I'm Iranian. I'm born in Iran, but I lived all my life in the Netherlands. And all Arab states hate Iran. A lot of government officials in the US dislike Iran. Luckily, Iran is now, we just made a great deal where we're allowed to trade with the rest of the world again under the most strictest control by the International Atomic Energy Agency. And hopefully that brings Iran one step away from like a war. But Iran has doesn't have the best PR system in place. So also as an Iranian, I'm I don't know. I'm very anti-war, and I'm a pacifist basically.
Can I make a point that I think you guys are going on this geopolitical slide down to nowhere, debating bullshit. The point that Serv and Amin and a few others have been making are complaining that the United States is the biggest terrorist in the world. I grant you that. The United States is the worst terrorist that has existed in humanity. I'm going to go ahead and grant you that for the sake of this argument. That still doesn't explain why individuals in random countries throughout the world who identify as Muslim take it upon themselves to go to other countries that have nothing to do with the United States, have nothing to do with their home country, and fucking shoot up or do suicide bombings or kill fucking innocent civilians for no fucking reason. Nothing to do with their government, nothing to do with politics. It's just their ideology. And why are you guys ignoring that? That's what we're asking. That's what we're addressing here.
And so it was good to get that off my chest. I'm glad that, and I'll go back to religion real quickly. I'll do a monologue one last time. So one thing I would say is that what happened in Orlando, if that young man had not been in a religion, if he had maybe been brought up as a Muslim, rejected it, or perhaps if he had a family which didn't believe in it so much, or perhaps if he was he wasn't a religious person, I think that the likelihood that he would have shot up the gay bar would have been a lot less. He would have been comfortable with the fact that he was gay. He definitely, I mean, in the United States, he had a good shot. You know, he at least could have been around people who might have said, like, you know, I know that that's your religion, but you know, you need to take it less seriously, and perhaps you can live as a person and be accepting you are homosexual, instead of deciding one day, maybe because of a mental illness, or maybe not, that I'm going to shoot up this gay bar so that I can prove to God one last time that I'm not gay and that I'm worthy to go to heaven. My take, I could be wrong about that. Maybe, and I don't blame religion entirely, but I think it was a part.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry.
I am anti-religion. I'm not even. I'm further than an atheist. I'm anti-religion. So I have 4 family members over. Okay, my aunt, her husband, and the 2 children. And all we ever talk about is how we debate religion 50%, and the other 50% is how Iran is culturally inferior in every single way to Western countries. So I don't want to debate Muslims. I think, you know, people who believe that God exists are less likely to visit a therapist. I just made it up, but I'm pretty sure it's true. You know, you just pray instead of going through it.
I just laughed in the chat when I suggested that.
I had a troublesome early childhood. My father died when I was 1 year old around, and I had a lot of therapy sessions, between 50 and 100 therapy sessions, and it has helped me a lot. Like I read that the shooter of the gay club in Orlando, I read that he beat his wife repeatedly, almost like he imprisoned her almost. Let's say, even if he wasn't Muslim, whoever does that, because it also happens here in the Netherlands. It happens in countries where there are no Muslims, right? You have a mental illness, maybe not classifiable by the DSM book, but there's definitely something wrong with you. You definitely have some unprocessed wounds or a big ego or something. There's something in the way, and you need to talk about it and you need to process it. And being religious, especially Muslim, I think Muslims are even less likely than Christians to visit a therapist. You know, should open up. There's a lot of shit they, you know, I don't want to defend that. I associate way more with homosexuals than I do with Muslims.
So does Kat.
Just as, you know, the common values that we share. So I don't want to defend that in any case.
Yeah, and absolutely, and definitely, it could have been a Christian person who did it because they were, they were ashamed or wanted to prove that some other religion. It could have been someone who is an agnostic atheist. But I think that the fact that it made it, and it's a sad thing. And I think that people now gun issue, which is fine. They're going to make it a religious issue, but I think it's a sad combination of the two. I got to go.
See you, man.
I'm a liberal, crazy guy, but very, very liberal. But you know, I agreed with Hitch before I even know I did.
I'm just a crazy guy, so at least you're political.
Peace out, man.
Later, Steve. Yeah, I think the guy more than likely probably still would have shot up a place or killed someone.
Say that again.
I think the guy, that dude, would probably still have shot up a place or killed someone at some point, but not the gay club. I think it's what Tim's missing as far as his argument with the Muslim thing.
I've been interested in mass shooters, specifically school and mall shooters, ever since Columbine happened. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy to be passionate about that. But there is a lot of, very similar cases. Like, for example, Adam Lanza, who shot like an elementary school. 20 kids died. Most of them like age 7, 8, 9. And he also shot 6 or 7 adults, including his own mom. He was an atheist. He was one of he was a genius. Like, basically, he was a programmer. He knew everything about anything. He was a contributor. Sandy Hook guy? Yeah, Sandy Hook. He was a contributor to Wikipedia. Like, this is an interesting guy, even if he never shut up a school. Like if you shut up a school, it always creates like a persona, and you sometimes look at people differently. But this was an interesting guy regardless, you know. I don't want to romanticize his personality, but if you make a list of all the school, mall, club shooters, whatever, you know, we don't all call them terrorists, but because the definition of a terrorist is someone who does that specifically to further a political goal. So by that definition, that's why I call Bush a terrorist. He had a political goal that he wanted to further.
Yeah, you just brought up a good point. So I'll grant you that the common denominator in all the mass shootings, you can take religion out of it, because they're all with different faiths. It's, you know, that they're males. More likely, you know, that they're not getting laid, and there's mental illness. So those three things are probably driving a lot of that. So testosterone.
Right, but it can also, it doesn't make one worse than the other.
Right, but so we could grant you that on mass shootings, on individual acts. How about if we add a second person to the mix? So now that you have two people committing a mass shooting, what common denominators do we see then? And what's the
two people together?
Two people together committing the same thing.
Columbine was committed together.
I see.
Okay.
Manipulation.
Okay, so that's a good point. That's an individual case there. So you could look at that one. That's one case. All right. And
then there's another case of the.
But that's in the United States, and you're kind of leaving it just the United States. Now let's go worldwide. So we have Columbine. That's one example. Let's go a little bit more recent. Let's go with the head bow shootings. Let's go with France.
San Bernardino.
Yeah.
San Bernardino.
Exactly.
Let's go with even Africa. I forget which one in Africa occurred right on the same time. France. You start adding those up. What's the common denominator there?
If you're going to say it's religion, I don't think that that's the right way to look at it.
I'm going to say one specific religion.
It doesn't matter. It could very well be Islamic religion. It could be factually, you know, statistically true.
It doesn't matter.
In which case, we shouldn't ignore it. But
the statistic doesn't necessarily prove what you're intending to prove, though. The correlation may not be there. It may, and I'm missing it. But I think the correlation is that there's a leader who is very manipulative and gets people to do what he wants them to do, whether they're religious or not, for the most part. Or
but that wouldn't work on me. Why wouldn't that work on me? If a leader came up to me,
we haven't been in that situation.
You might be the leader in this scenario.
Right. It's just like when people say, "Oh, that salesman could never get me to buy something." I'm immune to that sales crap. And then you go and you because you're so convinced that you don't have to even deal with it, you get blindsided.
Let's take Kathy.
I can't hear you, dude. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Hello?
You muted for a second.
Yeah, you muted.
Okay. I'm gonna refresh.
No, you're fine.
You're fine now.
Oh, okay. Let's say, Kathy, you're a reasonable, rational guy, okay? What would increase the chances that you are receptive, is that the right word, to someone coming in and manipulating you to kill a bunch of innocent civilians, okay? Let's say your country was systematically being bombed the last 3 years by another major military industrial complex controlled superpower, okay? I'm painting the United States, of course. And let's say a lot of people thought that they were specifically bombing you because you are atheist, and all your brothers and sisters and you feel very enlightened, and they are bombing you because you are atheist. And they, that would already, a couple of things happen that would increase the chances that you say, you know what, fuck it, we're going to kill a bunch of innocent civilians over there. And because they killed maybe 100,000 innocent civilians over here. And it would increase even more if you knew a couple of friends who knew someone who had a relative that died, or maybe even your own kid died. Right? Now it's even more. There's a lot more chance that you are angry enough, but you still need you still need weapons. You need to go there. You need a visa. There's still a lot more, of course, that needs to happen for that.
Yeah, I'll answer your question for the sake of brevity. I can't think of a scenario where, out of my own volition, I would go into a different country and indiscriminately target civilians for no fucking reason at a random place as an act of revenge. If I'm going to enact revenge, it's going to be very exact, and it's going to be hopefully towards the people that I feel cause me ill. So If it's Amin land that destroyed my family and it's been oppressing my people and it's been bombing me, I'm going to go after you. Try to go after you personally if I have the power to do it. If I'm going to get the visa and the weapons and all that, I'm going to go after you. What I'm not going to do is go attack Steve's Young Idealist's country and go to a internet bazaar for some reason and drop a fucking bomb there, or pick a random marathon in Japan and drop a bomb in a pressure cooker for no fucking reason as an act of what, defiance against the system? No, I will never do that. I'm not a fucking idiot.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Like, again, I'm not advocating an eye for the eye, but I'm just saying it would increase the chances. Like, maybe you are not the right person, but someone less pacifistic, less reasonable than you, maybe already has a little bit fucked up, mentally, or is really
talking about me.
Driven. Not even you. You are one of the coolest Jews.
They're saying a lot. Great.
That I know here.
The dregs of the clam chowder.
So all of us, we don't want to generalize, right? But if you have a country with, I don't know, like Iraq has, 40 million people population, right? Like I believe that a little bit has to do with the fact that they're Muslim. They don't go to therapists if they have mental problems, and it also a little bit has to do with that they think that they are systematically bombed because they are Muslim. Now, whether that's true or not doesn't even matter. They think it's true. And I think there's definitely some truth to that too. Like if all of Iraqi were right Christians, it would be less likely for them to be bombed, I think.
I mean, I'll give you an example. You're talking about geopolitics. Like, I'm Panamanian, right? My family's from Panama. Panama had a military base that the U.S., they protected the canal. We had a treaty that they had the canal for 99 years. So there was a dictator named Noriega in Panama in 1989. Some Panamanian soldiers got into a scuffle with some U.S. soldiers and they killed them. And then that led to the U.S. invasion of Panama with the guys that we also needed to arrest Noriega for helping to launder money and giving aid to Pablo Escobar and the Colombian cartels. So us having a military base in Panama, we knew exactly where Noriega lived. I mean, we know the guy's house. We know he's there. So what does the U.S. do? Having already a military base, you think that they send a couple of MPs, cars to his house, shoot up the place, go arrest him? No. We send the fucking 82nd Airborne from North Carolina, from Fort Bragg, and bomb the fuck out of this ghetto that was around the headquarters. And we just throw fucking ordnance, we do a big show. We do the American fucking war show. And we fucked up the city of Panama for no fucking good reason. We could have just gone in and arrested Noriega if that was the case. We knew where he was. And we literally did that. We put tanks in front of his fucking house and we started blasting music. Actually, he went to the Vatican Embassy and we holed up in the Vatican Embassy and we put the tanks in front of his house. My point is, I should be pissed off at the United States for doing that. That was a stupid fucking thing for the United States to do. They used that Panama as an excuse to just bomb the shit out of it. They were testing out the Stealth Fighter 2 at the time and they were testing different weapons. And I don't blame Americans. I blame the United States Army. I blame the United States government. I understand the geopolitical bullshit, the military industrial complex. I understand all of that. But I'm because of that, and I'm Panamanian.
And what year was this?
I live in the United States. I'm not going to go fucking shoot up a movie theater because I'm still pissed off about that.
And what year was that?
That was 1989.
Okay. I agree completely, man. Like, I don't believe in the death penalty. So even if we have a terrorist that shot 1 million people, let's say, I don't believe in a death penalty even for those extreme cases. I think he should just go to prison for the rest of his life. But
so I think, it's unfair. I think if your point is that the U.S. is the biggest terrorist, well, I'll grant you that. And I do agree in some small sliver that it's unfair that most of the terrorist acts that seem to happen are Muslim related or get blamed to Muslims, get attached to Muslims. That might be unfair, but I mean, the facts are facts after that.
Sure. Maybe they are Muslims.
Yeah. But I think the true thing that we're trying to identify, and I think that's where we were doing Ash shit earlier, is at which point, I mean, you could tie Brexit into this. I think the real problem in the world is we're coming to find out that more than 50% of the population of the world are fucking stupid. The bell curve that we had, it's just the stupidity is fucking running rampant in the world.
Definitely, man. So, yeah.
Sorry, somebody said earlier in chat that I don't think Ash is dumb. I think he's uninformed. You said that to him. You said you didn't think he was dumb. You just thought that he was uninformed. I think we're coming to a point where dumb and uninformed are synonymous. I don't think intelligence is something that you could measure by how smart you are or whatever. I think it's coming to a point where it's how much information you actually are storing and processing. So I think being uninformed is being dumb, is being stupid.
So I have the 4 family members over from Iran, and they identify as Muslim, but their actual religion, if you study their behavior, is soccer. Like all they do, they're downstairs right now. They're stupid as fuck. They don't know anything what's happening in the U.S., in China. Like huge things are happening in China every day. No, they're fucking blind to it. All they follow is like they sit on their fucking ass. They're watching Euro 2016. Do you know the European Football Cup? And all they do, like they check the news every day, but it's only the fucking soccer news. It's a terrible thing, and they should be ashamed of themselves for being 2,000 years behind. Iranian culture we are so far. I have another family, okay, like the aunt who came, her brother also has children, and they are so much more like his son is doing PhD in stem cell technology and whatever, and they are a lot less religious. If you ask them, they're still like they say I'm Muslim, but they drink alcohol, they do everything what God forbid. And it's such a big difference, it has like a how do you call it? I don't know the English word for it, but if it's a tiny bit difference, it has huge effects in total. If you're a little bit less religious and a little bit more open to the sciences of the world, it has a huge outcome in what you do in your life.
We talk religion till we all do, till we're blue in the face. How we think it's just horrible thing and this and that. But to your point, the gullibility that allows you to let religion rule your life, I think is what's the real problem, right? I think that's what we're trying to address.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I heard you correctly.
Did I, Robo?
Yeah, I'm hearing like some sort of noise coming up every time you talk, but it could be me.
Can you guys hear me okay now?
I hear.
Oh, okay.
There's a little static as when you talk, but I kind of like that because when I have to hear you clearly, it just for some reason like my nails grow funky.
I found this headset, and I don't know if it's very good or I don't know how good this mic is.
Like all I hear is bass and no medium or treble.
I might switch headphones and go back to like the shitty Apple ones.
Hey,
what's up, JD?
So yeah, a lot of shit's going on in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah,
I've known people like my wife, some of my wife's relatives remind me. I mean, what you were saying about, I believe their relatives or people from Iran that that basically all they give a shit about is the football scores.
Yeah.
And they watch TV all day long and play games and and it's like the world is like this really narrow focus, and they couldn't give a shit about the bombs falling and or yeah. So anyway, I'll start ranting, but
yeah.
But
please go
education though. We're going back to something else you said though. Education is the key, and education is a religion killer, and because it just worldwide people who have a higher education, and I'm talking about like a documented education, especially an advanced degree, the higher your education there, the lower your religiosity is over here. So we need to start educating people, doing a better job.
Yeah, definitely. These two fuckers, the two guys, they even go to private schools, and from what I hear, they have very good grades, but still. But so it's not a guarantee, of course. So they are in one of the very few percentage points that even they're 11 and 14 or something like that. but still, all they personally care about is soccer. They know a lot of things if you ask them, but they really don't.
They're always going to be outliers, one direction or the other. But statistically, though, it does bear out that the greater your education, especially your formal education, the less religiosity you're likely to have. That so there's no guarantee, but just overall for populations, the more we educate our populations, and that's especially true for women. That's like one of my big things is true equality for women, and the quickest way for that is education. As old saying is, a rising tide lifts all boats, and so if more people in my area, in my region, in my neighborhood, my county, state, country, world, more people higher they're educated, the more productive we all are, and the more so.
In Iran, the universities are 60% populated by women, which is actually better than many Western countries. So they are really good educated. They work in every office in Iran. You have women working in from the creative industries to journalism to whatever. They're way more taking part in the public discussions that are going on. Women are still relatively oppressed compared to men. The most important thing is that they simply have to wear the hijab, the headscarf, and some other things. But yeah, Iran has to get rid. I don't want to make this all about Iran, but there are lots of double standards, and they have to get rid of them one by one. And it doesn't help that they, above the president who is elected, they have like a religious leader. And on paper, he has every power. Like he barely overrides the president. But on paper, if the president were to say, well, from tomorrow, every woman, fuck the hijab, you can just walk out as a hoe on the streets. Like that rule would definitely be overruled by the religious leader. So it's that story, and Iran is simply 1,000 years behind. Where tourists don't go there because you hear the crazy stories. You think it's all fucked up for homosexuals and women.
All the people that I have met from Iran in my life have been some of the most interesting people. So many of them were remarkably progressive that I've met. Now that might be a filtering effect of the people that I've met because I met them in the United States or in Europe. So there might be some kind of filtering effect of the fact that they're there. But all that being said, I've met some remarkably progressive people, Iranians, throughout my life. And I get the impression that there are two Irans. There's the ultra-religious side, and then there's a very, very modern, progressive side, and you just illuminated that.
That's what I've heard about Tehran a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, a cultural divide as far as Persian versus Arab?
Oh,
that you see in Iran? Do you think? How much of that is the religion thing? How much of that? So which one is which?
As you know, Iranians are not Arabs. They identify as Persians. So Iranian just means that you have the Iranian nationality, but only 65% of Iran are Persians, which is like a group of ethnicity. The other 35% is other ethnicities of neighboring countries. Lots of refugees coming in the last 10 years.
Is Farsi the language of Persia?
Farsi?
Yeah.
Farsi.
Exactly.
And Arabic is the Arabs' language. Okay.
No. So Farsi is more related to English and even Dutch because both are
Indo-European.
Indo-European languages. And Arabic is totally different. Like my cousins who are here right now, they have a really troublesome time learning Arabic, which they have to do in every school in Iran because you have to read the Quran or whatever. And it's really hard for them. And all Arabs, like this is the most dividing thing, all Arabs hate Iranians. So there are some United Arab Emirates blabs at any given moment, right? If I go into rooms, which I've done very often, just randomly, just for fun. Once I say that I'm Iranian, well, just sometimes trolling, sometimes seriously. But as soon as I say I'm from Iran, boom, something changes. Like it's like racism against Iranians.
Hey.
Saudi Arabia's number one enemy is not Israel or anything. Saudi Arabia sells billions of dollars worth of weapons to Israel. Its number one enemy is Iran. If you just maybe to be blunt, white people in the West don't look up Middle Eastern policies like. From the Middle East, like you look at it from the American point of view. Oh, what do we have to do about Iraq and everything? No, look at it from Middle Easterners. People in Northern Africa, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, you name it. There's a lot of tribalism of people hating each other there. It's not just all Muslims. Iran is the only Shia Muslim country, the only, and all Iran doesn't know Wahhabism. Like if you go to the national television station and the national newspaper, like everyone is hating on Wahhabist Muslims because they're Saudis and the Saudis, oppose the Iranians. And people in the West don't know that. They think we're all allied against, to come and behead your wife and kill your children.
And that's
I had experience with that area of the world when I was 21 years old, when I was on the USS John Hancock, and the war, it was 1981, 82. And it was the war between Iraq and Iran was going on. Very terrible war. And, hundreds of thousands of dead. And my job was to sit on, basically, to operate the radars on the USS John Hancock and other ships in the area. And watch what's going on as far as aircraft and make sure nobody comes over from Iran and bombs the Arab oil fields or Kuwait or whatever. And this was a learning experience for me because I didn't realize how. You're absolutely right. Saudi Arabia's number one enemy is Iran. That is like and to such a point that when we were there, we could not call. I am not kidding you. Officially, we could not call the Persian Gulf the Persian Gulf. We had to call it the Arabian Gulf.
Just like they want, yeah. They're being a big competitor in the US.
Saudi Arabia to basically make sure that their oil fields weren't bombed by Iran. And
what Americans do to protect Saudi interests is unbelievable.
It's fucking baffling and sickening.
I was part of it, man. And I was a 21-year-old kid. I didn't know shit about it. Now I look back on it going, fuck me, we were protecting kingdom, fucking kingdom.
I know, right?
So
yeah, in one of my first weeks on Blab, I saw a black dude talking about he joined the military. He was talking about perhaps this happened like a couple of years ago or very recently, and then he was sent out. And you would think as just a dumbass joining the military, you go to Iraq or Afghanistan. No, he was shipped out to Kuwait, and all of a sudden he learned about oil interests and things that he never thought about before because he had to go to a tiny state in the middle of the desert that doesn't have anything except for a shit ton of oil. That's what he was basically.
Yeah. I remember there were these American communities over there that were essentially it was this company called Aramco. Aramco. Oh, it's Arab American Corporation.
Pretty much.
And it was definitely a learning experience. And of course, there was Donald Rumsfeld shaking hands with Saddam Hussein, because Saddam Hussein was our buddy back then. And as they say, especially during the Reagan administration, he's a bastard, but at least he's our bastard. And of course, history changed that a little bit. As they did with Noriega. Noriega was our bastard for a while.
Either participate
then he became adversarial.
Go to the blog.
I don't know who that person is.
Manuel Noriega in Panama.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so the Iraq-Iran war was
Nobody gonna
was
talk?
pretty much a
Oh,
proxy war, a classic United States proxy war. Hundreds of thousands, or I don't know, 100,000 Iranians died, and many of the people who in Iran disliked the United States. Some of them even shout "Death to America." You won't find any.
Both sides of that war, weren't we?
No. You were on the Iraqi side. You were definitely 0% on the Iraqi.
Well, then what was the Iran-Contra debacle?
That was a way of
funding Iraq with information, and we were giving Iran with information, and we were giving Iraq weapons support.
Like seriously, is it dark?
Yeah, but the way the money was getting flowed, it was money that was supposedly being used to fight the Contras.
Right.
Vice versa.
But it was right, and it was done, I think, through Israel over to Iran actually, but we were funding them for a reason, and it had to do with the war. We weren't funding them. We were funding them to give them something to have weapons or information for.
What it was is we didn't have the congressional approval to fight the Contras.
I get that. But
so we were using shit from the Iraq war to fight the Contras.
Oh yeah.
To say we're on the Iraqi side, I think, is to see it in a very narrow way. We were fighting both sides.
We were mostly on the Iraqi side. We were really.
I trust you. All right, I'm wrong.
Maybe I don't know anything.
First time in 51 years that I'm wrong, and it's your fault.
Well, that's okay.
Speaking in tongues.
But yeah,
He's gonna be like speaking in tongues.
yeah. The U.S. supplied Saddam Hussein with not only a shit ton of weapons, but also biological
We're like,
weapons.
sorry, guys.
Which
Yeah,
was, I think, by that time we already had international treaties that
Jesus,
forbid
take a
that.
grade break.
No one ever went to
Yep.
jail for that. Like someone who was responsible in the U.S. should go to jail. Like
So
we
go
have.
help anyone
That's why we
who's in
have
jail.
those international treaties, right?
No,
And
they
the next
didn't
person
go
who is
to
in
jail.
in power.
We know where the seed stock came from.
What was interesting to me, though, is that there was an adversarial relationship between Iraq and Saudi Arabia. They
You
looked.
only have
They
about
they
5
were.
hours to get our shit
They
together.
they had a
so.
common enemy, Iran, but they also Saudi Arabia was also very leery of Saddam Hussein
Devin will
and
probably be passed out by
for
then,
his
so she
designs
won't even
on
be fun.
designs on their oil fields and Kuwait as well. And of course, that came to fruition later when Saddam Hussein did in fact invade Kuwait. But so there was
Oh god.
the enemy of my enemy is my friend. There's a lot of that going on
Yeah.
in the Middle East. I was going to say the Arab world, but it's the Arab world is much. The Middle East is much bigger, just as Amin says, much bigger than the Arab world.
So JD, what exactly happened in 1979 and prior to that allowed
Okay, sounds good.
the change in Iran
That should be
from
interesting.
being mostly secular to now having,
The bitch has got the hint
you
of
know,
this coming in.
and the Shah and
The Shah was a despotic dictator.
Yeah.
I know
And we
her.
put in
She's
power
14.
over Mossadegh, who we got killed.
To do chores. Oh, I thought
And
that was just cleaning
and he was a despot, and he
I know, right?
yeah he ruled
Like
with
the
an iron
fucking
fist. I
fire
mean,
or
he was our
something,
bastard.
like-
He was our bastard.
Shah.
And the Shah. And there was a
Do you get grounded?
She must live with
a,
her
um,
mummy and daddy.
a sort of a government of sorts in exile, and that was the Ayatollah. And
I wish
they
I
were
wish
in
we
exile in
would've-
France, I
we could've
believe.
said that, like.
And when the shit hit the
Yeah, she
fan,
gets, like, rewarded
in,
with, like, orange
in Iran
trash.
in 1979,
Anytime she does anything.
the Ayatollah came back, and it
Or
was
she
like,
gets rewarded with the guy's
you
attention.
know, it was like God coming back.
She's so far fucking
Or it'd be like John Lennon coming back to life.
As long as
you know?
they have it,
Almost
like,
like,
oh, they're
almost like a
great.
prophet.
Exactly.
Right. And so
Like, what the fuck was that?
the rest is
last night?
history
She's
there.
like, oh god. So now she came down.
Iranians
That's
became a lot
refreshing.
more Muslim
Bitch,
because an Iranian, like a U.S.-backed dictator was
Shut
put
the
in place
fuck
to
up.
hold,
We
like,
give you fucking
to
life.
serve U.S. oil
That's why you
interests
keep coming back.
kind of
Like,
control the people.
don't kid yourself.
And back then, like Amnesty International, right now, like the main target of Amnesty International is China. Iran is on the list too, Saudi Arabia is on the list too, but it's mainly, I
They
think,
always
China.
say some slick
And back
shit.
then, Iran was the number one. Like the Shah, and he did many good things, like homosexuals could marry, all at once, lots of progress. But anyone who had anything, even thinking about in book, you're tortured. Like you're killed,
Right.
you're tortured. Terrible things. Thousands, many, maybe tens of thousands of people.
I wonder
Same as Saddam did.
I want to go to Friday.
I wonder how many people know that in Iran our embassy was overtaken and the staff was held
People make
for 444 days.
So good. I want to see it too.
I wonder if people really know that. That was the biggest thing. That's how Ted Koppel got started, remember?
Yeah.
Day 24.
Reagan got elected.
Yeah. And right when Reagan got elected, suddenly
The
everybody
day of his inauguration, they let him go.
Yeah. No deals were made prior.
No, not a thing.
I really wish.
Talk
my
about
best
a
friend would
coincidence.
come in.
Oh, before my birthday.
To the great historian.
I just want to talk to
I don't know
her.
if you guys seen that video with highlighting how the
Bottle of wine in the trash.
Oh, like my favorite.
Champagne.
Entry UK, France, and the United
Hit up a
States.
collar.
That's
Oh,
the stage to where we are now.
Yeah. That's
You know what, guys? I wish we were heads of state of these.
Yeah, I see that.
Us guys right here.
You may go
Like
get
the
her to
keyboard these days are all
So
like
That one is
We need to get a guy
double-sided and long.
Before you have more competition, we'll run like that, but we're not going to run for president. We're going to let assholes like Trump and
And then one of the reasons why we'd be good is because
right here.
we have
You wanna jump in?
run for president. We haven't had to basically prostitute ourselves to this corporation or that corporation or that cause or this cause because
You like
to get
yours
money
better?
so that we could achieve that.
Fucking
What do you
pieces
have?
of shit.
So-
They're putting
Remember
these
when Jimmy Carter-
videos up that have no content whatsoever with them.
When Jimmy Carter tried
Really
to
amazing.
get the
Really amazing.
prisoners out of Iran,
How's your
And-
day?
and like 10 Americans died just trying to get off the ground.
It was like
get it.
that close to successful. And it was just a
It crashed trying to get off the ground. The plan was good, but they didn't prepare to shoot in the desert. It was getting
gradual collapse. I mean, that could have happened to Obama with the destruction of Osama.
Exactly, and it was the same scenarios were being run over in the lead up to killing Osama bin Laden, which was okay. This happened before and it didn't end so well. And there was Black Hawk Down, and there was
No, Black Hawk Down was Somalia.
That's what I'm saying though. But these kind of things can go awry. And they did.
Pretty much. Like, who
Because
takes
they
5
used that
years to
helicopter.
say hi? Like,
And,
you should Tom, you should go to shit.
But
Tony Sheridan, what the fuck?
nobody killed. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we're doing our part. Our part here is we're talking to someone
There we
who's
go.
Brian joined. I don't see his icon.
in California.
That's kind of weird, man.
I'm in Texas.
That's kind of strange.
You gonna show some dental correctness
Like his stuff is down.
Which I'm not going to.
Get on the fit.
We have that.
The difference is everybody wants Texas.
No, since I played last.
Except for a few sensitive people living in Texas.
Yeah, I want Donald Trump to build the wall at Oklahoma border.
It'll flood. It'll flood.
You have the Texas to pay for it.
Exactly. By the way, you got like
Oh, those are nuts.
They're awesome, man. Come on.
But I mean, that's we're doing our
Yeah, did you have a gray hair? It's white hair.
You've been around the world. So you see the difference in crowds and what we have in common and what we don't.
Yeah, full head of white hair.
And all these classes that you recognize.
It doesn't matter what color it is,
An
as long as
ideology
it's there
that
to
does
turn
not include everybody.
Hey, it is there. That's a fact.
Promote peace and love and humanity and having
Come on, Flea, let's go.
I read in his bio that he's Palestinian. opinion. So if you're on the side that is being attacked, it's sometimes hard to not hold a grudge against people that
I'd be pissed off at everybody. I mean, I just would.
Yeah, I'm Jewish and I think it's
put
fucking
in
awful.
Sharpie stuff on there.
The fact that they are not their own state today.
There we go. It was already on here. Get over it.
Is crime.
Why I left Israel?
And one
I
of
don't
the
know,
reasons
maybe.
why
I have a tuner,
it was
but it needs
atheist is
batteries.
because they recognize that the state of Israel
The internet uses it and use your microphone.
bullshit.
No, it is
Oh,
not.
yeah, that's right.
No, it was
Exactly.
not religion. It was culture, really. The original Zionists were not religious people at all.
Yes, but you have to
I didn't know that.
admit that
Yeah, I
Judaism
know.
in the Old Testament and in the New Testament that piggybacks off that.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's co-opted culture and they use religion as a way of promoting culture. So religion has been used by humanity as a way of promoting
I'm
their
gonna hop on, by the way. It was really nice talking to you.
I see you, man.
It's the one common aspect is the Judaism, but they were not believers primarily. Israel around Jerusalem is much more religious now in a lot of ways than it was back then.
And I agree with you. And that was my point earlier that I don't know what's worse, the culture that
Oh,
creates
yeah,
it
we would
or
have breakfast.
the
Yeah. Come on,
religion
guys.
that creates the culture.
So you guys are.
It can also be mutually exclusive, though.
Like,
So the
Come
fact
on,
that
white
the Judaic
stripes,
tribe has been very proud
yeah.
of its heritage
Nine-
and it's
is
been
it
trying
nine-
to
what'd you
continue its
say?
lineage.
9 p.m.?
Tried to trace
Tom, what
its
time is it where you are?
and documented it. In the Old Testament and everything. This is part of the problem that we because now other people are co-opting that lineage, and now Muslims co-opt that
p.m. in
lineage
Germany.
and
We're in
claim
Germany
it's-
right now.
But to me, the biggest where that all started,
And we're drinking champagne. Actually, we're drinking.
claimed that they were the
We're drinking sparkling wine.
That's what we do in Germany is drink sparkling wine.
That is not
When
from the
I hear
champagne
Jews
of France,
say,
but it is from France, so
"Over
we
the
can't
Jews?"
call it champagne. We call it sparkling wine. You're drinking rum.
In
Cheers.
2016, you're
And
still
we're
it's total bigotry. It's like it's safe or better than everybody else. And most Jews don't say that or
Are you
believe
drinking-
that.
you're drinking
It's
Listerine?
it's really the religious.
and the medicine from my mind says leave it
It's been shipped on
alone.
by all its neighbors throughout its history.
There we
And
go.
the only way for them to make themselves seem greater like a blowfish is so we have the one true God that's behind us. And we are
All right, Adrian, lay it on us.
created
Hit us,
based around
Hit
a
it.
movement.
Hit us. Hit it.
You know,
Let's
to
go.
finally
Hit it.
defeat the
Do it.
Romans later.
Hit it.
The Romans were the last ones to kind of.
She's got to smoke her cigarette first.
And
Exhale.
oddly enough, it backfired, and then the Romans co-opted that new movement and turned it into theirs. Their empire.
But tell
It's
that.
insane. And then Ottoman Empire later.
Yes.
Play us some fucking Jack White, man. Play us some White Stripes.
There's a real book.
We don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that.
No, we wouldn't do it because we actually don't know how to.
You already done did that.
I don't understand how
Yeah,
anybody in the modern,
practice it
modern
in front
society
of us. I
doesn't
can listen to you practice.
foolishness.
Seven Nation Army. Keep
I love the
practicing
Jewish
Seven
people, though.
Nation
Come on.
We're just messing
They're
around.
great.
Tom, we're just messing
Mel
around.
Brooks, Penny Youngman,
Yeah,
What is it?
mess around though.
Jackie
They're great.
Mason.
Mess around though. Mess
I grew
around.
up in Miami.
We're just messing
There we
around.
go.
Wait a second,
Actually,
we wanted to give him
we
back.
are part of a bigger band out here in Rhineland-Pfalz. It's one of the states in Germany.
Boy.
The band is called
I know,
Herb
sorry.
Broadway and the Dog.
I was just reading
We play
about all the
around,
Jews from the mountains by New York
You know,
that were
little
doing,
venues here and
working
there.
at the resorts in
One
like
of
the
them's
30s,
called What's
40s,
the place called?
50s, 60s.
Irish
Phyllis
pub.
Diller.
The Irish House.
And
Irish House. We play the Irish
that is
House.
a list of some
we
of
have
the
a
fucking
we have a
greatest
we have a
comedy
little
ever.
basic set.
It is the best. It's
no
there's
covers.
the American
All
Jewish
original
culture, especially
Stone
around things
Cold
like comedy.
Killers.
Yeah, Germany is fun as fuck. to
That's
be
how I
in,
think it
man. You
became
wanna
so
be
much
in
of Hollywood.
Germany.
But
Yeah.
And
What
everybody
mountains
wants
was
to
it?
be in Germany
Not the
because
Adirondack-
you can walk
Not
to
the
your
Adirondacks.
club
It was
and
the
you can walk back on the
Catskills.
clock.
Catskills.
You know,
You're not-
it's
oh my
not
God.
about any DUI
There was like 100
bullshit.
celebrities
You're just
that were there.
fucking-
You are
It was like the Jewish resort area.
Is that where?
Yeah,
And further,
I think so, actually.
Yeah,
so it was like
our
the Jewish
music,
Riviera.
our art is celebrated.
And
in America, our art was somewhat celebrated also
Yeah,
just a little
names,
bit.
if you go on Wikipedia and look up
over here in Germany,
the Borscht Belt.
they really appreciate it.
The Borscht
They really
Yeah.
they get into it.
You know, they love our non-talent.
That stuff, and I think that humor is what
highbrow,
kind of blended
highbrow.
Yeah, it's not so much bullshit.
into Hollywood.
I mean, there's not a whole.
Wit.
Hi, Rabbi.
You know, a guy can go out.
By the way,
and
I take a lot of my sound drops from
red
one of my
shirt
favorite
and fucking USA hat
radio talk show
and,
hosts of all time,
be okay.
Neil Rogers.
Nobody's gonna say anything.
From Miami.
Yeah, I could marry
Tom,
him.
wait, stand by
Could
one.
have, he could have been as
I could marry
national as
your
Howard.
ass.
He was, I think, as talented, if not more so. He came out
What is this?
as gay in
Santa Monica.
30-year anniversary right here.
1980 on the radio,
Recognize
like
this?
as a radio personality.
Not as Coppice. Remember this shit? Come on,
For
Tom.
your career.
Santa Monica
He was so good that
It was big stuff.
So
Jim
he would
Tebow,
refer to himself
it
as the
was
fat
huge.
Jew
I'm
fag.
telling you.
I missed it.
You know,
Hey, we all smoke.
You know, the
I missed
this
it.
movement in Rabbi Wine was gay.
Yeah, I've been drunk my whole
He was
life.
from
Motherfucker.
Michigan.
Tom,
My
hey,
mom
Tom.
worked for him directly at the Birmingham Temple. He was gay and he
It's
totally
not,
like
it's not about
transcended
our
that.
gay
And
marriage
when he
because
came out,
you
it
know
was probably around
my
the same
wife's
time,
down
if
in
not
Italy with
earlier,
her family.
and probably in the mid
His
'70s.
wife's
And
upstairs.
it never,
asleep,
it
tired.
was never. He was
tonight.
loved amazingly, and it was never an issue at all until he transcended.
Where's a couple
was
of
adorable.
cool
People either
cats?
hated him because he was just
Enjoying
because
life.
his show was like 3 hours,
That's
and he
a
would
fact.
rag on the old
trying to
Jewish
see
lady
if they-
stealing Sweet and Low and
Drink as much
silverware at
champagne as
Wolfie's.
you can till we fucking pass
You know,
out.
during
Drinking
what do you call it?
champagne.
The early bird meal.
I recommend you jump on the train.
He
man.
just
What are you
was
smoking?
go
What are you smoking, Tom?
way
What
into
are you
Jewish
smoking,
culture.
buddy? What's going on up there? Champagne
And
train.
because he was part of it, so he had license to. And
Okay, Adrian. You
and
look
he
like
was
you're about
great,
to.
and he'd also he'd get on, you know,
You got your
gays,
spliff
you know,
over there in
swishers,
Germany,
you know,
Virginia.
That's he would refer
Y'all
to
are
some of
worth
them.
a split,
And
man. Gotta.
he was Neil Rogers.
You're
He
not.
died
You're not
in
anywhere around where all
10
these
years
floods
ago.
are, are you?
And
Ain't got no floods up
he
yet.
was
No.
people and he went from
I don't
radio
want you
station to radio
drowning while you're
station
smoking.
in Miami, and he commanded the
I don't want
most
you drowning
money
and smoking.
of any radio personality. I think
Drowning
probably
puts out your
south of
split, man.
you know of in the southeast United States.
Yeah.
you know,
Why don't you put
He was
your cigarette
a
out?
Hey,
tremendous
Tom, I gotta come home.
influence,
You know what
especially
that is?
influence among other radio people, including Howard.
Cigarette.
And,
Was he the original shotgun?
oh, man.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
Those up here in the feet lab.
And
Yeah.
he was influential to
I need
Larry King
I need some more white
because
stripes.
you know he and Larry
Seven
King used to
Nation
basically get
Army.
in public
So,
squabbles.
so
and Larry
what
King
we
was a local
have is
radio
we
guy
have
in Miami.
a basement
And,
in Germany that we put up
great stuff.
a
And just
lot of
big
soundproofing in the walls.
I remember
A
when
microphone,
morning radio used to do prank phone calls.
and some really ass
But this
cool
guy-
JBL monitor speakers.
Wata, goo,
Because Mr.
Cyan,
Chris, the
and they would
skateboard
say
guy,
it. What a goose I am.
he is
Back
a
then it was
amazing sound producer.
Like
He
it
does
is-
a lot of
Yeah, I know.
rap shit.
You're silly.
I don't subscribe to rap,
Right now it's
but he's my friend, so I tolerate his crap.
but Neil
It's not
was
funny, but at least I'm sexy
And all
as
I do
hell.
is hang around when he needs a guitar
Um,
backing to some of his songs.
but anyway Neil
That's my job.
Rogers was
Well, sweet man, let's hear something, man. I need to hear more Seven Nation Army stuff.
it was great. The guy was just great.
Seven
And,
Nation
and so anyway,
You can
I
do
pulled
that.
a lot of
Can
the
you do
drops
that?
that I
Seven
used
Nation Army
from his old show.
White Stripes, Jack White,
they
and
were
his
that
wife.
And his
His
little
wife says
talent
it's
too. He almost never
Wife
had
slash
guests.
sister.
It was just
Ex-wife slash
occasionally they
sister,
take
maybe.
callers, but even then, after a while, they
All right,
stopped taking
hey,
callers.
Adrian,
It was just
which-
fun for
where's
3
your name?
hours.
Come on, come with it.
Material
Well, I
to
really
come
can't
up
do it
with.
on this
He would
guitar
just
because
big-
I've
his
retuned this
material-
guitar to a
he would-
slack G.
His material
a
was
slack,
driving through Hallandale,
an open G.
you know, in my
okay.
just
Yeah,
bitching
what
about
I was
the
trying to
traffic
do
and
is
the
learn
traffic
some
stopped him in his
Hawaiian
Corvette 'cause
songs.
he loved his Corvettes.
That's why
and
I
it was just-
know,
it would-
because
but
I
he could
play the
riff on that
ukulele a
shit.
little bit. Yeah.
And all day long, and he was huge.
That's like kids in school, instead of
Miami.
playing those stupid whiny ass recorders,
Anyway,
they play ukulele.
Where else do you get
They
your
learn
little
the
sound bites?
ukulele instead. That's
I would think
fucking
you get it
awesome.
from those comedians in the
they-
Catskills.
So I was trying to
Well,
learn
I
this
get the sound bites
tarot
from-
tuning, this
from a,
slack G stuff,
Like I
and
said, I
it
get them from the
totally
Neil
throws it
Rogers show.
off
There's
for
a couple
Jack
of
White
websites
crap.
that pay homage to him. But I also just purchased
All
them
right.
for the
Well,
podcast.
so let's hear some
and then I just go
Hawaiian
on to 'em.
shit, huh?
And
No, I'm just trying to learn
so I
it.
purchased them at Pond.
You know, I have a woman in my room who grew
That's where
up
I
in
get most of them.
Hawaii, and she might like to
Have you
hear
guys
it.
ever seen old Jews telling jokes?
Should I put?
And I grew up around old
not
Jews
Halle,
telling
she's
jokes.
Hawaiian.
That's exactly
She's,
what it is. It's those
she's not
people.
mainland.
Exactly what it is.
So it's my parents. It's my parents telling jokes. It's really funny.
I'm Howley. I'm Howley.
And the old women
She's
are the
not.
dirtiest of
She
all.
wants it. She would probably
sorry.
like to
I'm
hear
sorry.
this shit. So
The old
should
women
I
are the
put it
dirtiest
on
ones of
for
all.
her?
Great. Playing
Like,
canasta.
are you ready
and,
to perform?
I think you're probably just disappointed. Yeah, it is bad.
All right, wait a second. I'm gonna
For
find
a
one.
true, like, second
But
generation Hawaiian.
Doug over here says, "Did you get a mic drop sound bite yet?" Yeah.
Probably not.
I looked on
It's probably not going to end
I
well.
spent a good half
It's
hour
probably
looking, and I could
make you
find.
like you really don't have any confidence in us.
It was. It's actually hard to get the decent.
Violence.
At least I looked around. I couldn't find the decent sound, and it's. I thought it was going to be a no-brainer. You know, the
But
thump
yeah, man,
and
I'm,
then the
I'm digging
feedback.
the ukulele.
You know,
What's happening?
I
Where's your
looked around, I
bass,
couldn't find
sister?
it, and I'm still looking for that actually, Doug.
Where's your
'cause I
bass?
think that'd be a great sound to have.
I put it
Like,
away.
make my point.
I
mic drop.
play
Get the fuck out.
electric bass, play it with finesse and grace. You know that?
How old are you? I'm 93. Says, you
Man, I can hear you practice. I can hear
You
some.
know when you I play electric bass, but I don't play
That's the
it
best
with
part.
finesse and grace. But I play electric bass, but I don't play it with finesse and grace. But boom, 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 boom.
Oh no, that's not. I don't want this one.
I play electric bass, I don't play it with
That's a real downer, man.
I play electric
Oh,
bass,
just give me a second. I'll get it.
Yeah, I definitely love. You know, here in Northern California, there's almost no Jewish. I mean, there may be there's a one Jewish deli in Santa Rosa here.
So good.
And it's like,
all is well and right in the hood.
you know, it's half-assed. It is half-assed.
Nothing?
I miss the neighborhoods.
You're not
I miss
You
like
did
going
nothing
to.
wrong. That's a fact.
Like I said, I'm not Jewish.
Oh.
I'm not Jewish myself, but I
the fuck then?
just adore the culture. Well, at least the American Jewish culture. I'm not familiar
You
with.
brought your bass out, but you never played it.
Love to go bird
Let's
watching.
hear this,
It's actually a great
practice.
bird watching part of the world.
I mean, fuck. Like, I have to tune my ukulele, but I'll play some ukulele for y'all.
Yeah, let's hear it, Tom. I love that. Come on, bring it.
Let me get my ukulele, motherfucker.
Where's your? Yeah.
I know it's out of tune, though.
That's okay. Adrian.
Hmm.
Adrian.
What?
Yo, Adrian.
Get your bass. Get your
What?
bass.
Yo, Adrian. Adrian.
Get your bass. 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 All right. Bring it. About to bring it.
That was pretty good. No, it wasn't.
Ukulele. Ukulele.
Try to find a better one.
Mahalo.
Here, let's see.
This is all. This is
The
for all
women
the
telling jokes is really
Periscopers out
funny, though.
there.
Do you remember the old Jap jokes? Do you remember the Jap
What?
jokes?
Sort of. Did you ask?
And the
You know, the
meerkat.
Jewish American princess jokes.
Yeah.
The Jap jokes. It's like my
Fuck, I
first
gotta
lab
switch
boss,
chords faster.
Gail
That's what I'm
Rosenthal.
learning is how
Just
to
told me the
switch chords
dirtiest
faster.
jokes.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah, of
just the
course.
dirtiest jokes. And I'm talking about, man, I can't believe it.
Hey guys.
But you know, some of the Jap jokes are like one of the less dirty
We're gonna
ones,
be right back.
which is pretty good. And it's like, you know, how does a Jap eat a
I
banana?
wish I was special.
And it's like she goes,
You're so fucking special, you fucking periscopers.
yeah. So
The women are the dirtiest jokes that there are.
Wish I was
They were
so
great.
special
One more.
as you.
One more.
oi!
A guy goes into a pet store and he says,
Oh, let me look up
you know, I
the
live
fucking
alone. He said,
lyrics. Oh, this
and he
this
says, I
could
like it
be.
that way. He says, but
I'm not.
sometimes I just
I'm not
miss
all
this,
that
human
bad
voice.
when I have the lyrics. All right, let's see. Radiohead. special SEL lyrics, and of course somebody looked it up before. Creep. Right? When you were here before, couldn't look you in the eye.
Oh.
Wait. Couldn't look you in the eye. Just like an angel. Skin makes me cry. Look like a feather. A beautiful world. Wish I was special. So fucking special. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. The hell am I doing here?
Yeah, you got to turn your mic up.
I don't belong here.
I showed that to my old parents, man. I haven't seen my dad laugh like that.
It's hilarious, man.
It's just that it's like it's so cheesy that it's fun.
Old Jews telling jokes, man. It's just like it is.
It's
like Passover dinner. Yeah, that's good stuff.
One a perfect soul.
Liked it. Did you like that, Ashraf? It's kind of funny.
I remember being like one of the my wife and I being the only Gentiles.
And I'm not around.
Oh, let me turn down my mic. Goyim.
Yeah, we're the only Goyim. It's still bad echo.
So fucking special.
Oh, let me turn it down then.
And okay, yeah. So yeah, we were the only Goyim at the big Passover dinner, and it was just these are the bitter herbs.
Like it's just for the periscopers, just for the.
It was awesome. You're still doing it? Okay. These are the Haroseth.
This is
word.
Have you ever had
gefilte? Elijah. He's going to drink the wine.
Narcissist.
Drink the wine. You like the wine. Have you? You don't like the gefilte? I know you don't like the gefilte fish.
A little more horseradish over here.
Fucking shit about your shit.
And then of course after a while I started talking
at the table.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I was special.
Saccharin in their coffee.
Fucking periscopers. Fucking suicide girls periscoping.
Opening up their purse and taking out an old Kleenex and using it.
Fuck them all, man.
Dude, it's like that was it. And it was
worth looking at. Yeah. I can't watch a single fucking scope. I just can't even fucking stomach it.
Stereotypical and true.
It's true.
You're a bunch of fucking narcissists.
Like going to a Jew, I've been to a couple of Jewish funerals.
On the real,
I learned that. That's like the first
where I get to wear the yarmulke.
Which is
it's like, I get to wear one little
fucking. It just happens. And my man, Fat Stacks.
You're not fucking special.
He's jamming it out, and if you don't like it, you probably
up already.
Anyway, I love that's one of the bits I got from you. So, hey, dude, I got to roll out because
it's an old. It's a part of like Lex Riviera, small section of Americana, and the people get to be so big because their behaviors are so.
Realize that, right?
I don't know. So just out there.
Listen,
Harvey Korman on
just.
The big
John, you with us? John says you joined.
I grew up around women like that.
I know you joined
Hedy Lamar.
You think it's yourself.
Why do you girls be Hedley Lamar?
And our blab is called.
No, but Harvey Korman, no, on the Carol Burnett show. That's the
Why do
old
girls
Jewish mother. I forget the name of the character, but with
That's
her
what I'm trying to figure out. Why do girls be tripping?
The stockings
So
that go
if you have
the
some
knee high
insight,
stockings.
please, come on.
that are below their knee, so that you see it over.
Or send us a message here on the side in the live.
All right, dude, I'm gonna roll out of here.
Why do girls be tripping? We're trying to figure that out. While we wait,
L'chaim, yeah, to life.
is going to play us a little
Life,
game.
All right.
If only you should know.
It'll be something in the tune of G.
Does anybody want to come in? Otherwise, I'm going to go. How about Ashraf? Come on, buddy. I'd love to talk with you. And I'm not going to say anything that's going to be dismissive or insulting, but I would like to talk with you.
Hey, Corey. Thanks for joining, son. We are about to talk about why girls be tripping.
Anybody want to come in?
My name is Herb.
Sunlight, you want to come in?
This is
you want to come in?
We are.
Yeah, I don't like Periscope either, person.
Our mission is twofold. One, we're trying to just,
I'm going to leave it open so you guys can chat it.
The second thing we're doing is trying to figure out why do girls get tripping. We don't know. What's going on? So,
Rabbi,
join the discussion, please.
How about that?
Ring in, call in. Do your thing.
Hey, Nolan.
If you don't want to call in or you can't, maybe you're at work or something like that.
Oh, that's me.
Put your
and we had
message, your comments over there in the live chat. Corey.
It was
Corey.
Steve, come in.
They're smoking pot, just taking buckets.
John, you too. Right? In the meantime,
wow,
buckle
you're
it,
so
the
fucking
fat
special.
stack.
I wish I was that special. Just taking bong hits on a fucking fan on the internet.
Word. And that was what I'm talking about right there. Fat stack. Serenading your ass with a stick. So we got no more joiners.
That's funny. I always like watching people laugh.
Conversation.
There's something very.
If I'm being honest,
and the fucker is old as fuck too.
Lex
Rivera. He's trying to be
Rivera.
gangster, but he's a has-been from hell, man.
I'm trying to find one more.
Oh my god, what it has been.
John joined, didn't say anything. Come on, John. Corey Smithy.
I know him as he doesn't.
Pretty sure that's not your real name, Corey
like
Smithy.
a college kid.
Also, didn't say anything. Let me just go out on a limb and say
one
this.
butt now, I guess.
Petelware in 2016 slash. 2017.
Probably just
gonna be jamming some shit into your ass. If you don't, if you're not gonna buy what Petelware is pushing in 16, 17, they're gonna jam it into your ass, directly into your ass, just like Apple
stables for a while. You
jammed the iPhone and the iPod directly into your ass and into your life. Petelware is going to be jamming some serious shit.
Cat's pissing in the litter box.
Similar place. So let's have a discussion. Why do girls be tripping? Seriously, come on, man. Seriously, why do girls be tripping? What's up?
So, like, what was Randall about? He was basically peaceful here. So
For like 2 seconds, and they start up again.
he started up with what?
The girls.
What
Be tripping.
He was peaceful for like 2 seconds, and then he started up with the name calling and the shit again. I was like, what?
You blocked him then? Or
No,
not?
I didn't.
Over there,
No,
there's a
you didn't.
couple of. Give me a couple of those.
He's such a little fucking high school kid.
Stacks of
He's
cash,
so
homie.
fucking typical and easy to understand. So easy to understand.
into that. Oh yeah, we've
He's just a little high school kid. Sorry, everybody likes him. Like, I'm not dissing him. I'm just saying this.
Okay. All right.
He's just
So-
got that mentality. Anyway, I'm gonna mute.
We're looking for somebody to.
Okay, go ahead.
In my fucking state. I'm gonna switch my video to black. Look,
That was so dumb.
Oh,
so stupid. Oh, what a disappointment that was. What a letdown.
John, what are you
Not
doing?
manhood, by the way.
all at once. Alright, I'm gonna mute and I'm gonna pee.
Anybody coming in?
Okay.
Who's coming in?
All right, guys. Appreciate
You were a real
the
rabbi.
support.
There's
John,
no rabbis
thanks
in
a lot.
Arkansas.
It's not working out.
Come on in, Illuminati God. We can talk. It'll be fun. Fun. Wow, Eric Silverman has 712 followers. What the fuck is up with him? Hetty Kent is a gardener, veteran, advocate, and patient medical cannabis activist. Very good. God, I hope that Uncle Bert doesn't come in. That guy. Ugh. He's something else. Oops. Oh. Come on in, Uncle Bert. I almost made you leave. Oh, who put that topic? I'm telling you. What topic should I use, you guys? Uncle Bert, come on in. He was done. He had some stuff to do. What should I change the topic to? Could a miracle just be little coincidence? Not special. Oh, damn it. You think I can type? Let's try this. Hold up here.
Oh my god, my pee fucking spread all over my legs.
Oh, damn, dude.
Like, I got pee all up in my shit.
Oh, damn.
Okay,
is
that a good one?
Like, it's white
Yeah,
pee. You know, it's perfectly white.
Me
Because
either.
I've been drinking plenty of water. But god damn, that shit sprinkled all down inside my pants.
I wanted to
and
say it
shit.
like
I
a
didn't
Jewish
know
guy.
how.
Maybe a miracle
What the
should
fuck
only be a
happened there?
coincidence?
Maybe I need to
How's
like
that?
Shay Carter or something.
That's on you. I really don't know what to tell you there, dude. So-
Oh,
How's that this one?
bother. I don't know.
I mean-
change my drawers.
Draws.
Trials. So, like, what's up with Randall and you?
What's that one?
What's the situation there?
Yeah, he's still doing it, and I keep telling him. And
You got a little
I'm
seltzer?
running out of polite things to
Now
say.
that did not sound Amish.
What do you say after you done?
CJ, come in. Keep me
But,
company. Somebody has to
but
come
no.
in.
It's
I
same
feel like I
shit,
feel
and-
so lonely.
Your dick is too fat or too short?
You got a little seltzer?
No,
Or
he's
what?
just
Thank you
he's
very
still doing
much.
the exact same shit.
He's coming in and flaming you. And why
Yeah.
the fuck don't you block him
Doctor?
before he can do that?
Yes, Mr. Steinstein.
It's so annoying. It's pointless.
Doctor, I got a little
If he
problem. It's my
starts
son,
talking
Jaime.
shit, fucking block his
Now get
ass.
down off there, Jaime. Get down off there.
I know it's too late for Jovi out.
It was
for,
an old Cheech and Chong.
you know, friendly conversation and shit. You know, if that's not gonna happen,
Looks like it,
block him. That's before he gets
About my
his
first
fucking
like, real
words out.
Jewish experience.
Why not
So-
fucking block him?
So I
That's
used to
what I
work
was
in
saying.
Glenside, Pennsylvania, which is
Uh-huh.
like near
And
Philadelphia.
if he's just gonna be a dick, you know,
Pretty good.
like
Jewish
maybe he's
population.
not, you know, because sometimes
But
he's
I worked in a
not.
coffee shop,
Like a typical
right by the
fucking
Keswick Theater.
Gemini.
and there's this
Oh,
one,
that's the
one
fucked up
older-
thing.
older
He
woman
was
that would
okay
come
for
in,
about 2 seconds.
and she would order the same thing. Okay,
Yeah,
and I
but you know that's how
about the
trolls
same
work.
time too. So she came in this one day, right?
Like they're all like nice and you know fancy pants for like about 2 seconds, and then
it wasn't a mix. It was like a
they fuck with
handmade.
you.
It's pretty good stuff.
Then it's time to get the fuckery going. Start up
and
let the shipbirds fly
the top
low.
of the cup, you know. I mean, I guess you could have complained about it, you know, but it was like
I don't know. He's weird. I
it
just
was
ignore
full
him
to the
mostly.
top with, you know, it was a little under what it
Good.
could have been. She kind of like looked at me when I set it down there for her.
What's up, Greg? Welcome to Seed.
Just looking at me like I'm like, is
You
there
don't
something wrong?
sit.
And she's
You
like,
don't
could
sit.
you
You're funny.
You
Greg
shouldn't fill it up all the way to the top.
fill that
Greg
all the
don't
way
sit.
to the top? So I just kind of like looked at her straight. I'm like,
All right, I
Okay,
gotta
so
hit
you
it.
couldn't-
No, I think I'm gonna sweep
Like
it
I
off.
hold my face.
Okay. Need
I
a
was like,
real cup.
okay, sure. I'll fill it like I'd like put it like just a little bit.
But it is
I
good
set it
hang
down.
in
It was
and
like,
make
is that
sure I
okay?
know
She's
where
like, I
you
can't help it, I'm
are.
Jewish.
Please link
How's
me
that? How's this? Look at the
on
top.
Twitter or Facebook
Hey,
or
Vase,
whatever.
you couldn't give me a real cup?
Okay.
Because it's not showing you.
That was probably my aunt and every other.
Okay, that's really weird.
That's
Yeah,
great.
it's weird.
You got to be able to let.
I just-
You know what?
yeah,
The Jewish thing is so
please don't
funny.
link
Some
me, 'cause I
just
want
the
to be there.
half Yiddish, half Jewish thing
Okay.
is so funny. My mom speaks fluent
Sweet,
Yiddish.
Thank you.
You're
One of
welcome.
like the only people that I know that
Me an
does.
old man nap. Get rid of my headache. Beat my headache
Yeah.
off.
Grew up with her grandparents.
Funny, you know.
Those.
Here,
Yeah, much love.
I was always
It's really
worried
German.
about stereotypes and all that other stuff. I was here. She's like
They're almost all gone now.
making me feel all.
I love that stuff. And it makes me think of the Seders for Passover. The things that you see at those Seders just blow my mind. It was fun as hell. We used to look for the Afikomen. It was the most important dollar of our lives. We tried getting drunk on Manischewitz, never succeeded.
What is this last thing that you said?
The wine. You know, whatever they call it. The Jewish wine. Here's some Jewish wine. Oy, I don't like macaroni.
Does everything always have to end in a question? Like no matter what is said, it has to.
So you had to make macaroni again?
That sounds like an Amish thing.
It's an ish. Jewish, Amish, Irish, ticklish, all the same.
Yeah,
You couldn't put a little salt into
Get
this?
You can get anything to sound kind of Amish if you just end it in a question.
I don't know what Amish sounds like.
Oh well, I don't know. It's like I live in the Lancaster area, so it's
Okay.
kind of like Amish capital of the world.
Yeah.
But
I find it amazing that they let their kids run around for that year. Isn't it a year? And party.
yeah, I'll try and do a good impersonation if I can. It's kind of like over the fence we throw the hay for the horses.
Oh, that's pretty cool. It is a similar cadence and like inflection.
Like Yemeni bunk, heifer. It's like you can never really tell what they're saying, but it's always a question.
Let's see.
Dang it, I can't find my headphones. It's making me really mad.
That's okay.
No, it's not okay. I like those headphones. I finally found a pair of headphones that the earbuds don't make my ears hurt. I spent like freaking $17 on those things. That's a lot for me. Oh well.
Yeah, it really sounds very German.
Yeah, it is German.
Yeah. It's almost like a dialect of German.
They call it Pennsylvania Dutch up here, but that's just because for some reason.
Well, you've heard of all the Jews at the Catskills that performed, like all the old comedians?
Yeah.
They used to call that the Borscht Belt.
Yeah. Interesting. Why?
Because it was around the time of like the Rust Belt. That was so many people were working in the Rust Belt. It was like the 30s, the 40s. So it was when unions were coming in, and they called it the Borscht Belt because these were all Russian Jews. Not all, but that's who went there to see them. The performers were Jewish and non-Jewish. But imagine the lineup. They had like, it's all these funny names and people that I sort of remember from TV when I was a kid. Borscht Belt. Okay. And something. The Jewish Alps.
Finally, someone for Eric to interrupt.
I know. He's right.
Yeah.
So he shouldn't be right? No?
No.
I wonder.
No.
Oh, here's the thing.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Yeah, here it is.
No. No. Sorry.
Hey, Tootie. Hey, Toots.
Hey, Toots.
Check out the gams. Sticks.
That sounds very Jewish to me.
Huh?
I don't know why that word sounds very Jewish to me.
Because it's New York.
Yeah, I guess.
So here's some of the people. Do you remember Maury Amsterdam?
I can't say that I do.
He was on the Dick Van Dyke Show. He was the small Jewish guy.
I mean, it sounds very familiar, but I mean, I'm not that old. And
No, well, you know, I am
from
actually.
watching it with my grandmother.
Milton Berle performed there. Irving, Jack Benny, Woody Allen.
Yeah, I know
Phyllis
all the
Diller.
names, but only as
Phyllis Diller had a hysterical laugh. That was her laugh. Jerry Lewis was there.
When I laugh real hard, I go silent and start tearing.
Wish I did too. Buddy Hackett. Buddy Hackett was the dirtiest comedian.
Yeah, I know a couple of his jokes. He did this one stand-up routine, and he was like talking about like a clean jokes or whatever, and it's like this elaborate 15-minute joke, and it's like the stupidest joke you'd ever want to hear, but it was.
Oh my God! He used to take his clothes off on stage.
Yeah.
The big fat guy, he'd go down to his shorts. Billy Crystal performed there.
Yeah, I like Billy Crystal.
Yeah. Chico and Harpo Marx.
See, now Harpo is a talented guy.
Dude, he was a spy.
I don't care. He was a talented
No,
guy.
he was a spy though. He was a spy for the United States, and his spying was around his harp playing. He would go and get secrets in the USSR, and what he was doing is he was doing actual. He was playing the harp, like classical harp.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah, I just like his. Well, I like the whole brand of humor, and then.
Yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I do for the most part.
Yeah. Although my humor is usually more stupid, like Monty Python.
There's a scene where the same woman plays in all the Marx Brothers movies. I don't know what her name is. Heavyset woman, tall, and she's got what's his name? The leader. What the hell's his name?
Huh?
What's the leader of the Marx Brothers name? The brother. Damn it. It's not Chico. Groucho. She's got Groucho in this big hug. She's got Groucho in this big hug. She's going, closer, closer, closer. And he goes, lady, if I was any closer, I'd be behind you.
Yeah, that's a classic.
You could totally see how he was saying that too. Like looking up a little bit.
Yeah, he wasn't very big himself.
None of them were. You know, originally his mustache and eyebrows were painted on.
I did
It was
not.
done with like a big black marker. And then he grew his mustache and he was a little bit older. Sometimes he had a mustache and it was still painted over. Rodney Dangerfield was one of them.
I gotta go.
All right, man.
Thanks. Have a good day.
I get no respect. When I was a kid, I was breastfed by my father. All right, there's 9 people. I'm going to boot you all. If nobody comes in. Hey, Helen, honey, how you doing? Bernie Madoff was involved in helping buy hotels there. The Stevenson Hotel in Swan Lake was owned by the family of David Freiling, who pleaded guilty as an accomplice to Bernie Madoff. Oh my goodness. I don't know who some of these people are. Yeah. Bob Dylan performed there. Carole King, Madeline Kahn, Carol Channing, who's still alive. Oh, geez, there's a lot of stuff about him. Oops. Do you guys want to see the video about the Borscht Belt? It looks kind of good. Do you want to see who's this? I know who this is. Hey, Tim, come on in for a minute. Oh, this is nothing. Let's see. Damn it, there's nothing about him. Let's see, Borscht Belt. Borscht Belt. Oops. All right, let's see if this is funny. Okay. Maybe I hope you like this.
You know the Jewish people are the only people going to gain weight even they go to a gym or a health club to lose weight. Watch Gentiles at the gym or a health club. Let me see how busy they are swimming, jumping.
So that you can start planning a week in advance for those great cinnamon roll recipes, or when it's a national give your friend at work a pie day. Again, so silly recipes, that silly holidays that you're going to see pushed out on Twitter and Facebook all the time. Very simple way for you to get some extra traffic by doing that stuff. When we talk about, and I've also pasted over the link to the editorial calendar that we recommend for WordPress. It's just editorial calendar, very simple to use. It's just updated about 2 months ago, 50,000 plus installs. It's what I would recommend. when we talk about editorial calendar, when we talk about content in general, and especially when we talk about planning your content for things like holidays, Serena is absolutely right in that you want to look ahead. But here's what I want you to focus on. Most of what you're publishing now, and this is for everyone on the call, most everything you are publishing now on your blog has not been seen by the majority of people who visited your blog in 2014 and 2012 and the likes. That is why it's very important to go back and start looking at and updating your previously published content. When we talk about publishing smarter, not harder, it's not publishing 3, 4, 5 times a week. It's maybe going back and finding a previous post from the last year or two that didn't connect the first time. Maybe your picture and photography credit has improved. Maybe you've realized now, after looking at the comments of a specific recipe, that there are some instructions and some questions that you should answer in an updated resource. I cannot understate how important that is to Google. When we talk about generating new and increased freshness boosts, when we talk about actually publishing again smarter, not harder, you want to go back and find the content from the last 3-4 years that you published when you didn't know as much as you do now. Update that. Add the information above the fold. Make sure that the graphics are optimized. Make sure that the page loads fast. Maybe you now understand what a focus keyword is, and you can go in and optimize that post a little bit more effectively in the Yoast plugin. Or again, maybe you have July 4th is coming up. If you had a blog for 9 years, you know what you have? You have 8 previous July 4th posts, most likely, if not several of those. Go back and find those, republish those. Maybe you republish a series of them. Maybe you publish one a week before July 4th, the day before, on July 4th, maybe the day after. And you're publishing and updating that information, because everyone who's visiting your content now, the vast majority of them haven't seen anything previously published. Cannot be understated.
And now, does it make sense to even make a post that would actually have links to all previous 7 for easier sharing socially, to say, hey, here are some great recipes from previous years? Or would you recommend actually just taking the whole thing from whole cloth and just making a new post out of each one on a daily basis leading up to the holiday?
Well, when you're if you can update and republish, that's always the best suggestion. These link party posts where you link to 8 or 10 posts on another site, or you just pulled up a very quick resource where you've linked to 15 or 20 of your own posts, it's not as effective. And the reason it's not as effective is that you want to put in the time to make sure that each of your individual posts are as detailed and as current and as informative to the reader as possible. Google wants you to continually be republishing. And hopefully, for those of you on the call, you do not have dates in your URLs. If you have dates in your URLs, now is the time to remove those. We want to look at future-proofing your URLs. We want to look at future-proofing your content, so that content that's shared now, if you update that with dates, you've basically created 2 posts, and you're going to have to redirect the old dated post to the new one with the date. That's a huge SEO disadvantage. So if you have dates in your URLs, it's something I would really urge you to get rid of. Please don't just change your permalink structure without doing things like redirects. I know Serena would like to jump in. Please, feel free. Oh, is she frozen again? Is she frozen again?
Come on, Serena.
Oh, she's frozen. No, off again. So poor internet signal. So anyway, I'm sure she was going to say, well, hopefully when she jumps.
Keep talking. Yeah, just keep talking, Serena, even if the image, well, okay, yeah, she's gone. Okay. Maybe type something in, Serena. Okay.
So here's a question, and let me just answer that real quick. There was a question about, if we update a post, do we delete the old original? Well, no, absolutely not. If you've updated the post and republished and you don't have dates in your URLs, you can just republish at the same URL and you're fine. And that's what you're doing, is you're sending out freshness signals to Google so they can come back, see the content, you've updated it, you've reshared, nothing changes. If you have flat, future-proofed URLs with no dates in it, you are set. That's exactly what we want. So in the future, if you find a way to improve your recipes, you can just continue to update and republish that same URL. Now, if you have a different URL and you have to update a post, what you're going to do is that URL is going to change because it has the date in it. You can't just update it the old dated URL. That's just not how the WordPress permalink system works. So in that case, you would have to do a 301 redirect from the old post to the new post. And yeah, there's a plugin recommendation there. And honestly, I can't give you one because hopefully those of you on the call are using Yoast. If you're using Yoast, it has a redirection manager built in. That's one of the main reasons I hope that anyone who is not using Yoast does use Yoast. And they can also update, because if you update, then you activate this redirection manager, which allows you to move the post directly in there. If you need to download another plugin, there are various plugins. One of them is called Redirection. One of them is called Simple 301 Redirects. Both of those will work fine if you need to go that route.
Hey, can I give a couple tips?
Sure.
Can you hear me now?
Can I hear? Yep, we can hear you.
So, okay, so let's actually talk about the content you're creating, because now again, we're talking this. So what about this? When you're refreshing content, how can you make it fresher? Here's a couple of exactly at the content piece you're updating. Most likely a couple of years ago, the content piece that you had was probably very heavily text. And it probably you had blocks of text. Here's what I want you to do. Revise your text, but in between your text more images. Instead of thinking about writing like a New York Times piece, think about publishing like BuzzFeed does. More images, smaller text. Now you don't want to do this in the middle, people all the data in one place, but you think about it, adding video with every one of your posts, so that when you actually do create new content, you're also adding new content that then to lead in with your blog. Sorry guys, I'm promoting your blog post on.
Yeah, we lost her again. Did you get all that?
Bits and pieces here and there.
So yeah, what she's talking about is, and I'll just say a little bit about it, is her goal. She was correct in that, again, we're a visual field. For those of you on the call, I know visual photography is very important. However, to Google, it is not that important. We want to continue to publish extremely good photography, yes, but it's not nearly as important as the content. Absolutely not. So if you have a post that has 8 or 10 pictures of your recipe and you have very little content around those photos, it's not going to perform as well, especially algorithmically with Google. So you want to spend some time building out the content. It's very important. If that means you only publish 2 or 3 or maybe just 4 max photos with your recipes, awesome, do that. Make sure those photos are beautiful. Make sure that they're optimized. Try to get as close to 100 kilobyte max per photo, which absolutely you can do. But don't worry so much about, having 11 photographs in a post. Those days are over.
Well, no, I would say that's maybe over from an SEO perspective, but from a content consumption perspective, we're actually seeing that format increase visibility of content. So I'm looking at it from a readership perspective, not from the technical perspective. What we've seen is % of the world versus 33% visual from, of course, 6 prefer video or visual over text completely. People write in text only, they are not activating visual audiences. So that's where my suggestions came in. But I missed what you said before that, so.
Just that, again, when we talk about optimizing a page for search, Google's really clear, and you'll have to excuse me. It looks like I've got a cat that wants to get into the screen here. First world problems, folks. So when we talk about optimizing a post, it's very seldom that you see the need to have 11 photographs in your regular recipe piece these days. And the reason that is that if you have 11 photographs, and let's say you've optimized them extremely well, maybe each of them are less than 150 kilobytes, that's still over a megabyte just from the photos. Now, the average page online, is about 1.7 megabytes. Do you know what the average page size is for a food blog? It's about 4 megabytes. And that's why food blogs on the average load horribly slow, is that they tend to not understand that not only are they up above the requirements anyway for normal positive UX, but there's just a lack of understanding of how to best optimize those images. So if we can cut the images down a little bit, great, but we never want to sacrifice the text for the images ever. Because if we don't give Google anything to algorithmically score, they can't rank your site. And if you're looking to do it as an advertiser, if you're looking to generate bottom line Google organic traffic, you're going to have to give them text to algorithmically score. So just bear that in mind.
So
Right.
we've gone
This
over a
was
lot of
the
different
existing
ways.
text plus images.
Yeah, we've gone over a lot of different ways to like make sure that everything's like maximized for Google. What can we do to maximize human beings sharing with human beings, and what platforms are working best these days for consumption and sharing? Is it Facebook? Is it Snapchat? Is it Twitter? Is it LinkedIn? Or where do we go with this stuff, and how do you get people to use it?
Here's the thing about social channels is that news that if you want things to travel on social channels on your best platforms, because it's going to vary by user, you create content that matches the user of that channel's aspiration. So for me, I still think Pinterest is one of the top places for bloggers because it's where people are going to build their aspirational lives, where they want to find the best banana pie, where they want to find the best things. But they also have smart boards. So there's a really nice mix of looking for smart things there as well as informational. Of course, it's an affiliate page, so it just drives inbound. Facebook video does very well. But I love a free tool called Click to Tweet. Click to Tweet allows you to put a hyperlink anywhere in your content that you can put any lead, like click here to share on your Twitter account, click here to share this out. Because what will happen then is, as people are reading your content, if you can provide them triggers for advocacy in appropriate places, you can get advocacy. And what you want is somebody else sharing out your content. The trust in your content jumps in value when a third party shares it out. So the more shareable your content can be, the more likely you are to get it out. So again, this is where you want to make your content. Putting a click to tweet. So click to tweet works really well with blog posts. With quotes, with stats, with finite numbers, or with challenges. Things that delight, things that educate, and things that make people feel first or smart. But if you can write your social update on the right channel. So right now we know Facebook allows video to be transferred the highest. But did you know that Facebook on your page, if you click the Periscope button, which looks like a Periscope, it's not Twitter's Periscope, you can actually do a ton of free targeting when you share your content out on Facebook. So you can actually, right there for free, no advertising needed, every update you send out, you can make it an update for a different audience. So you could say, this is the one I want to send to older audiences. Your grandkids will love this recipe. This is the one I want to send to my younger audiences. This is the perfect thing to surprise your mom. Or my mid-level single audiences, snag your man with this recipe. You can utilize very, very great, smart, and also somewhat free tools to target the right audiences and bring people in. You could have the same things you would target there. You create boards like that on Pinterest and you start driving in this right traffic. Those are just some of the things that you can do naturally with some of your content that doesn't cost you any money.
Right on. The hot topic these days seems to be Snapchat. Obviously, it's targeted more towards a younger audience. Has anybody heard of any experiences so far of people actually recording recipes on Snapchat, posting as a story, then downloading that story, and then reposting on YouTube, and then being able to share that out across your other socials? Or is that audience?
That's just content. That's just smart content amplification. Every piece of content you create, you have to have an amplification program. I'm not talking about your SEO amplification, but your social amplification. So if you're creating a recipe, people to know about that recipe. Yes, you're going to tag it properly and you've got that set up, but how are you going to promote it? Well,
let's talk about that real quick. If I could interject real quick. Since most of you are on WordPress, plugins are exceptionally important, and there are a lot of social sharing plugins. Many of you use Shareaholic. Many of you might be using Add This. I would like you to check out Warfare plugins. It's called Social Warfare. It is by far the best plugin I have personally used. I recommend it to all my food bloggers and audits. Social Warfare allows you, it's built for food bloggers. Basically, it includes Serena's extremely well recommended click to tweet functionality. It's built right into the plugin so that you can put those directly into the post as needed. It allows you to provide buttons which load the fastest. When we talk about, I mentioned page speed previously. every plugin you load into WordPress is going to slow down your site. So the fastest social sharing plugin out there is Warfare, Social Warfare. So when we're talking about shaving off those nanosections, every time, use the right plugins. Now, Social Warfare is a paid plugin. It's about $24 a year. It is the only paid plugin I use and recommend. It is designed for food bloggers because it has so much Pinterest functionality built right in so that you can specify various posts and pin, make sure that they're all unique directly from the post page. So check that out again. I'm not enumerated at all for them. I use it on my site. I just know that it's the best when we talk about page speed load, when we talk about things like click to suite, when we talk about being able to pull in all that Pinterest functionality that you all need so importantly. For many of you, it's still your biggest referral of traffic. It's Pinterest, then it's Google, and then it's Facebook in many aspects. So certainly something to think about.
And don't forget if you want to even start thinking about doing some paid stuff to get into your site, Facebook's got some pretty easy ways to do paid, but Pinterest paid may be even better for you. So really think about the platforms you want to reach and then do some paid there. But the other big thing to do is crafting your headline, your social updates. You really want to craft a social update that gets people's attention. And remember, people love stats on Twitter in the morning. So maybe 62% of people love banana cream pie more than anything else. Drive a link in. Of course, you want to use the keywords and the other ideas shared earlier on how to craft those questions that generate that inbound traffic. But you want to make sure you're using your social for that. And then lastly, do we want to talk about PR? Do we want to talk about how to kind of promote your brand? Has that already been covered? Is that part of this? What do you guys think?
Go for it. No, but somebody was asking earlier about like, well, how do we get the press to talk about this or something like that? That was a while back. I have to look up the stream, but yeah, let's talk PR.
I mean, obviously, the first thing you want to do is you have to be interesting. No person out there writes articles just for fun. So you need to be interesting, and you need to think about what's relevant to you. So, for example, as I said earlier, let's pretend that you're in Dallas and you're a food blogger and you kind of want to get some PR for yourself. Do you know one of the things you could do that I actually did for a startup here in Silicon Valley or Silicon Beach with USA Today? We wanted to get our startup in USA Today's technology section. So again, we offered a series on being 5 of the top leaders of Silicon. That happened, and our Mogri was on the front page of USA Today. So why not partner up with other bloggers in your market and come up?
I've lost her again. She was talking about specializing in your market, and can't stress that enough. Especially, I know Eric has already noticed it in the stream here. Niche specialization is really what you want to do. If your focus is Southern Comfort Food, try to seek out some other bloggers that have a focus in Southern Comfort Food. Maybe you can do a cooperative marketing initiative with them so they can start promoting each other's accounts.
Yeah.
So Serena's back again.
There we go. Yeah.
And then lastly, think about pitching around events. Again, let's say that a big movie's coming out. So Independence Day came out this weekend, right? What if you created an Independence Day feast? You could pitch that as an idea to your local food bloggers. Says, look what I did. Here's the top feast for this. And you don't have to think about pitching just media outlets. Think about pitching your peers. Think about offering also, what about you writing an article about your peers, about meet some of the other top food bloggers. Find ones that don't compete with you, but align with you. Do a traveling dinner where blogger 1 is going to write about and create an appetizer, blogger 2 an entree, someone a side dish, and someone a dessert. And then have a dinner online using Blab to showcase everyone cooking and having the dinner. There's a lot of things you can create that would generate topics for you. And then also, of course, look for food trends. When beets became hot, and this is again where you want to be ahead of the curve, which again goes back to the tools that Casey was talking about using for research, is once you know what topics are coming up, again, create ideas and programs and pitch them outward. And do not forget morning television. You got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning for this. But morning TV, especially on days when the government buildings are closed, pitch morning television. If you're willing to go in and show, you're willing to do it. They're willing to cover it, but pitch when the government's closed.
Eric here is asking, can you guys talk for a minute about social signals? SEO effect from posts on social media. To what degree can social media posts impact your SEO?
Yeah, there's no direct algorithmic effect for social signals in search. This is was continually asked. It was just recently asked at SMX Advanced in Seattle over the last couple of days. Gary Isles is the kind of the Google mouthpiece now. He came out and says, no, we still don't use social signals for algorithm consideration. However, social signals tend to align and reinforce strong existing content. So what you want to do is, as we discussed previously, is make sure you've optimized your content socially using a quality plugin, making sure that those sharing buttons are at the top and at the bottom, or preferably floating, following the user down the page on both mobile and desktop. Cannot stress that enough. If I'm going to do a food blogging audit and I have a hard time finding the social sharing buttons, that is a big weakness that you want to correct. You want to make it easy for users to virally share your content, especially on Facebook, on Pinterest, LinkedIn, probably not so much, StumbleUpon, and Reddit. Yeah. For those of you who, and many of you don't, have accounts on Reddit, please, if you don't take anything else away from the presentation today, go get started on Reddit. Reddit traffic will melt your server. So Reddit is a way for you. There are plenty of food blogging communities there. If you just want to get, there's a subreddit there on mommy bloggers. There's one called Momit. There's one on food bloggers. All of you should be over there setting up accounts and participating immediately, because Reddit traffic will melt your server and people just don't take advantage of it. So it's a huge opportunity.
Hey, can I answer? Brooks has a question. You know, your niche is wine. That's even better, because you can go in and talk about what to drink tonight for happy hour. It's a Thursday, pitch them on a Thursday morning or a Tuesday morning. Again, especially if the government is closed, because banks are closed, a lot of stuff doesn't happen, and pitch it in from there. Reddit, I'm so glad you said that. Such a great place for inbound traffic. It's reddit.com. And then, you know what? And I would love, Casey, to hear if you have any sites like this. One of my favorite sites is TweetReach and LinkTally. And those are sites where you can put in any URL and it'll tell you how far that traveled on social. Now, it doesn't give you a complete picture. It's a snapshot. But it's a really great way to see how far blog posts, what the impressions were, potential views, and of course, people who shared it out on Twitter all in one spot for free.
Yeah, I pasted it over. I actually use howmanyshares.com, but there's a dozen of these sites that'll do that. So if you're looking, and I do that, I'll pull out when we're doing a site audit. I want to find out what the most popular pieces of content are, and then I want to compare the social signals those recipes have generated to the actual links those recipes have generated. And sometimes there's a correlation. Most of the times there's not, and that's an opportunity, because if something has generated 50,000 pins but has only generated 2 links, that's an opportunity. I might have them refresh and reshare that, but I'll provide a more detailed linking blueprint that they could use to hopefully pull in some actual links, which is what we want to do. I mean, we go back to when I was initially talking about linking root domains. I know it's hard as food bloggers, how do you get links? But, everyone's putting up great content. There's 2 million blog posts published a day. So the content's not enough. You're going to have to learn how to promote that content, and you can use Facebook ads. You can do simple boosted posts. You can submit that stuff to StumbleUpon, to Reddit. You can many of you might not be aware of that. BuzzFeed allows anyone to set up a community account and submit their own content. You could become a community specialist, and you could set up these long BuzzFeed posts that magically have maybe a couple links from your own content in them. That will lead to other posts. Now, BuzzFeed is usually no follow, but that's okay because the BuzzFeed post will be picked up by Yahoo and the BuzzFeed post will be picked up by other media conglomerates. They tend to rewrite some of the content. Those links tend to be do follow. So it's just a matter of you utilizing these channels to drive a little bit more targeted equity into those existing content options.
And one other idea is to do op-eds. I mean, I work for a company that didn't have, because we're a vendor, a lot of people don't necessarily publish about us because they think we're being promotional. And yet I place probably 300 op-eds a year. So these are op-eds or publications that I wrote or my team wrote that promote 100% my concept, and yet other people's publications are publishing them. Forbes.com, Fortune, any publication you can think of, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, just go to the editorial contact page and there's almost always a submit a post option. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a great way, a great time to pitch your holiday editorial calendar idea that you put into the calendar 5 months ago and you've been brainstorming on, and you have such a great idea that you can put it in there, and then on your blog, write a blog that intros back to that main post so people drive the traffic there. The more traffic you drive in to any post another publication or platform publishes, the more visibility they'll give you. And what I mean by that is reporters. The reason I publish 300 op-eds is because every op-ed I publish, I drive the traffic into. So the article gets visibility, and therefore they're allowing me to publish again. So op-eds are an amazingly great way because they also give you follow links.
Yeah, I can't stress out. That's just a fantastic tip. So hopefully you all wrote that down. When we talk about, again, content marketing, it's not just your own on-site content. Don't be afraid to guest post. Guest posting is not dead, but syndication, unfortunately, is for food bloggers. And the reason that is because many of you on this call probably do not have 5 or 10,000 unique linking root domains to your site. And because of that, if your article or your top recipe gets reprinted on a site like HuffPo or one of the other big sites like All Recipes, and it's word for word, Google is terrible at determining who the original version of the content is. I have seen bloggers in tears with audits when I've done audits for them, and I said, hey, you had this fantastic recipe on sweet potato pie. Did you know that Huffington Post now ranks above you for your own recipe because you reprinted that article, that recipe on Huffington Post, word for word, and because of that, Google determined that it was the canonical or the true version and suppressed your own on-site recipe. So if you're on the call, folks, and you're thinking of syndication, you have to make a decision. Is the traffic I'm going to get worth losing the future ranking ability of my top recipes? And I don't think it is. So if you're going to syndicate, know how to do it correctly. Understand, look up things like a canonical tag. Look up and understand that if you syndicate, there are risks, and do it correctly.
I would say I agree with that 100%. There's literally anytime you publish first content, including putting video into Facebook, anytime you publish on another person's site, you're losing. But it all depends on what your goal is. And the goal is hopefully never to just have one great recipe. The goal is to get your name in front. And this is only when the value of the publicity of your news turns out to be higher value than that long tail traffic. So the thing, Casey is exactly right. If you want to be found under Great Grandma Joe's sweet potato pie recipe, and you give Great Grandma Joe's recipe to to Huffington Post, you lose it. But if you're using that article to lead into this is just one of many sweet Grandma Joe's recipes, you may end up getting the visibility and on-bound traffic. So it's a choice to make, and it's always going to depend. It's always going to be a trade-off. You may put it on your site and nobody ever sees it, so that it becomes that. So, but don't take a risk. Don't assume if you publish it, like Casey said, don't assume if you publish it here that, oh my gosh, all of a sudden my site's going to blow up. But don't forget that if you publish it here in print, you should have a video on YouTube with that SEO in the title going up at the same time. So you may lose the print version, but you may retain the video version. Just some ideas.
We're about to hit the hour mark here. So before we wrap up, does anybody have any additional questions while you've got these two fantastic experts on the line? Just type it in the message area and we'll see what's coming in and we'll answer those and wrap it up. But this has been fantastic so far, everybody.
Oh, you know what? Can I say one thing? Wine Harlots has a great point here. When Google hates duplicate content, this is why Casey and I were talking about no follow links. No follow links allow you to utilize some duplicate content. I work for Newswire, so we have duplicate content on all over the web. And the reason that Google allows it is because we have no follow links. So we put news on 1,000 sites, but you won't get the SEO juice for it. So you can have duplicate content, but you have to be very, very clear to make sure that it is not being indexed twice. So that's why you'll see some publications do it, but be really careful not to publish duplicate content on other sites unless you're aware of what they're doing in order to make sure that this is okay.
Well, while we're on that topic, let's talk a little bit about duplicate content, but let's talk about it in the scope of on-site issues, because since many of you are bloggers and many of you are availing yourself of WordPress or another platform, you have things called tags and you have categories and you have what's called paginated content. That's when you see the /page/1/2. You've probably seen those. That's duplicate taxonomies generated by the WordPress system by default. There are two schools of thought on what you should do with tags and category and paginated content and archives. One school of thought is, you should leave all that open. Google's smart enough to figure it out, and it's probably going to drive traffic. That school is completely wrong. The other school of thought is that you should look at your analytics, see very clearly that your tag and category pages probably aren't generating any traffic, and go ahead and no index and follow those. Now, one of the simplest ways for you to do this is to go into your Google Search Console. You have this awesome search queries report. Hopefully all of you have verified your site in Google Search Console. If you didn't, you might as well just log off now, go do that. First thing, we'll wait. Come on back. After you verified your site, Google provides you a significant amount of data, more data than anywhere else. The search queries report is invaluable. It shows you specifically Google queries. It shows you the traffic you're getting directly from Google, and you can sort that. You just go up and hit the click button and it'll tell you, you can sort the content that had no visits and the content that had the most visits. If you do that, you will predominantly see no tag pages, no category pages, and no archive pages have generated any clicks. A page that is not sending you traffic is a page that you should not have open to Google.